Tomatoes, a little more and he will be sick of them. Previously, the beloved red fruit gradually, with enviable regularity, became hated. Uchiha doesn't change their habits so easily, and they don't even turn away from their favorite delicacy, but there was something else. Naruto, Madara, damn her, I dragged tomatoes to him every day. No, thank you, of course, that tomatoes, not ramen, but still, when will it end? Topic. The loud scream made his ears ring. At the age of 18 he felt dissatisfied with the whole old man. Dobe, Uchiha said wearily, closing his eyes, this blonde idiot shines her happy face every day in the apartment allocated to him. What's there to be happy about? She is not expected here from the word at all. And Sasuke shows it with all his appearance, only Naruto does not understand any hints or direct text, continuing this fucking tradition. Ripe. The blonde chirps merrily, fluttering like a butterfly around a small room with a package containing delicious and juicy fruits. Stop it, the brunette coldly asks orders, showing all her indifference to her combat friend and former teammate. But she grimaces and shows the guy her tongue, turns away from him and goes to the small kitchen, where she unpacks the purchase. When are you going to stop being such an asshole? A ringing girlish voice is heard from there, in which, except in serious, life-threatening situations, notes of carefree positivity and universal joy disappeared. It seems that when Sasuke tried to kill her, he still hit her head hard on the rocks. Well, or he drove hard with his foot /arm /elbow /knee, or even, Chidori, it shortened well. My left arm ached after the memories of that mess, but there was nothing to hurt, there was no hand. Phantom pains, motherfucker. When will you stop shining your face at my house every day? The very famous Yukikov's patience was bursting at the seams, and it was impossible to expose this blonde. She will immediately start spreading her hands, screaming about eternal friendship. It will only make it worse and destroy the apartment, then at best only the table on which 2 cellophane bags with tomatoes are lying will remain intact, since Naruto will specifically ignore them and not touch them. Having accepted this simple truth, Sasuke realized that he did not want to be left without a home and a roof over his head, otherwise this blonde would come to mind to shelter him. And he definitely would not tolerate this with all his unshakable composure. Uchiha shuddered. No, in that case he would be ready to go to Nukenani, just to get away from this dobe. Or else he will think of even after that to drag himself to him twice a day for evil, and this is at best, because at worst, read above. When you stop sitting in 4 walls forever, Uzumaki retorted, already flashing her dazzling smile in front of Uchiha's face to the point of pain in her eyes. And she doesn't care that every day she hits the wall of indifference, she's not used to it. We have already talked about this topic. If he had 2 hands, he would throw her out of here like a kitten, grabbing her by the scruff and giving her another kick to speed up. Burning her with a cold stare, and she shook her head, waving her long golden hair. Only now Sasuke noticed that her hair was loose. Well, yes, where can she tie the usual 2 ponytails on top of her head, because under a black and orange sports jacket there is the same stump as under his white haori. Sakura then called them idiots, shedding burning tears and trying to save them. I don't want to hear anything. She pointedly covered her ear with her good hand. You will be covered with dust here, you will become moldy and you will die of loneliness. Wailed the girl, who absolutely did not like the detachment of the last heir of the Uchiha clan. You still need to revive the clan. And because of the detachment of his ascetic lifestyle, the Uchiha fan club was in no hurry to be reborn, like a phoenix from the ashes, and if the fan club does not revive, then the Uchiha will die of loneliness. Such was the logical chain in Naruto's head. You too? Sasuke noticed, surprised to notice how a barely visible blush appeared on his tanned cheeks. In short, I got it. Uzumaki didn't let him finish, plugging his mouth with a juicy red tomato. From where she pulled it out, One could only guess, because she was at a distance of about 2 meters from the packages, and there was nothing in her hands before that. Giggling softly, she gave Sasuke a look full of fun and hurried to retreat before revenge, namely this individual was turned on her, overtook her in response for her audacious impudence. The brunette almost choked on a berry, spitting out of his mouth a small mature and very fragrant fruit, to which he developed a persistent dislike on the basis of recent events, progressing due to the intervention of Naruto Uzumaki. Sasuke was furious at Uzumaki's presence. In a specific way, she could bring him to the maximum boiling point with her presence alone, and something had to be done about it. Meditation did not help, anger did not recede, her carelessness and friendliness especially brought her out. Whereas it seemed to appear to a traitor with the sweetest smile on his face and behave so casually in the company of a former Nuke-nin, as if Sasuke had been in the village all this time and had not betrayed anyone, living with Orochimaru for 3 years. Your gloom infuriates me, Naruto calmly said, laying out apples in front of Uchiha. Thank heaven, not tomatoes. I'm sorry, there were no fresh tomatoes today, or rather, there wasn't enough for the 3rd package. The girl smiled guiltily, drilling her gaze into the impenetrable guy sitting opposite. And I am annoyed by your eternal positive. And he was also surprised how she could remain as bright as she was years ago, when he wanted to kill for the first time, running away from Konoha. After those terrible events and their already big fight, which almost cost both their lives. They paid a small price, the loss of their hands. He was really infuriated by her overly cheerful mood, and sometimes it seemed to him very pretentious. It's innate in me, Naruto shrugged off, shrugging her shoulders. So be patient, friend. Uzumaki sat down next to him on the same sofa. For the first time in 2 months of Naruto's daily visits to this apartment, she allowed herself such a liberty, to sit next to him. And that showed how much she trusted him. That's how Sasuke interpreted it. Me too, the brunette repeated in the same way, glancing from under his brows at the former team mate, who was sitting at ease next to her and chewing an apple with an appetite. Well, yes, the smiling Uchiha is such a game. Naruto laughed, imagining how Sasuke was smiling sweetly and the hearts of everyone around him were hiding from the sight of this outlandish smile, which had forgotten something on the lips of the Sharingan bearer. The laughter immediately subsided, and the imagination clearly traced every detail of the smiling Sasuke. And I imagined how sweetly you smile, the blonde cheerfully drawled, dreamily closing her eyes, which made Sasuke have a strange thought, and is Naruto in love with him? No, it's just as crazy as the cute smile on his lips. Naruto and silence are incompatible things, but still, it would be better if she kept her mouth shut, keeping her thoughts to herself, yet the idea of Naruto's tender feelings for him firmly stuck in the dark-haired head, not wanting to let him go even under the yoke of the cold voice of reason saying that it is. There is. Nonsense. Go away, huh? Everything inside trembled from another wave of anger. This wild guess stirred up his whole gut, destroying the barely achieved balance. Stop chasing me away. Nevertheless, a note of fatigue slipped into the blonde's voice. To fight Uchiha day in and day out is not for you to subdue Kurama. The fox is even more accommodating than this nasty guy. She goes to him with all her heart, and he is a goat, in a word. Stop coming when you are not called. He turned his head in the direction of his girlfriend sitting next to him, and with hidden horror met so close to the look of clear blue eyes that in a moment he began to drown in their crystal blue. Life had not prepared him for this. It is easier to perceive her as a thorn in the ass when she is at arm's length, but now she is sitting next to them, their faces are in unacceptable proximity, although the concept of unacceptable proximity for Sasuke is 15 centimeters. But they touch each other with their shoulders. Kami-sama, how he missed this moment. That damn little sofa barely held the two of them. And you will never call me, Uzumaki reasonably remarked, stretching her lips in a sad smile, and somewhere there, in the depths of those unreal blue eyes, he saw echoes of pain. When she's so close, I want to run away, cowardly with my tail between my legs. This is amazing, because nothing can frighten the great and mighty Uchiha, and Uzumaki just did it with her closeness. Suddenly a revived conscience spoke up. He hurts Naruto, pushing away her attempts to establish a former relationship, because their connection is so strong, and what to do with it. Sasuke would have happily torn her up, which he tried to do for a long time, but would that stop the most stubborn girl he knows? No. And Naruto tried to transfer her from a state of enmity to friendship, because the rivalry proved that they are equal in strength. Both are sitting without hands. A germ of guilt appeared in the heart, which immediately began to be fueled by the pain of the blonde. But don't worry, I'll get you out of any shit. Her tanned face was lit up with a sunny smile again, and her eyes shone with warmth. And from home too. Tearing off her fifth point from the cozy sofa, she waved goodbye to him and, as usual, went out through the window, and this girl really pulled him out of any scrape. Even when he was tried on his return to the village for all his crimes, she broke into a closed meeting and stood up for him. Tsunade sighed wearily and supported Kunoichi, and the elders had no choice but to agree with the voice of Kage and the heroine of the war, who was already prophesied to become Hokage. Therefore, Sasuke lived in a small apartment, and not in the casemates of the village, and even the titles and statuses were all returned, even the clan lands were returned, and all this is the merit of Naruto. But Uzumaki also amazed him by agreeing with Tsunade that she would make a prosthetic arm based on Hashirama cells with the support of Orochimaru, who was also acquitted with the participation of Naruto. The girl broke herself into a pancake, but did everything possible to make Sasuke feel at home and not vegetate in a dungeon. Conscience began to actively propagandize that here, what a smart girl Naruto is, and Sasuke is an ungrateful bastard. He also offends the girl, and she tries for him. The feeling of guilt grew exponentially, along with his stream of thoughts about all the merits of Uzumaki, for which he owed her. I wanted to howl like a wolf from the dilemma tearing him apart. On the one hand, he is a moral freak, unworthy of such an attitude, and on the other, he did not ask her to try so hard. Uchiha is waiting for the end of these visits of Naruto to his modest and small abode. This impudent Kunoichi does not give him a quiet life with his presence. And, in principle, by its existence over the past couple of days, he realized that he was wrong, but he would not admit it even under threat of death. No one asked for her. He repeated to himself when his thoughts returned to the beneficent Naruto. She helps everyone without asking for anything in return. He continued his attempts to cool his rebellious conscience and extinguish the feeling of guilt. A cold shower no longer put my thoughts in order and did not relax me. Naruto has become too much in his life. Every day she flashes her face at his house, so now she has settled in her thoughts. I wonder what stage is next. Yeah, that was a weird question. Sasuke realized that a little more and he would go crazy from all this. Her presence now weighed down at times more noticeably, because it was a shame to look into her eyes. After all, she was doing such a good job for him. She even forgave his betrayal. No, not like that. I never considered him a traitor, believing in him, even when he threatened to wipe Konoha off the face of the earth without leaving even a pebble, as Pain did. That's who is really generous. In comparison with him, the Konoha people had the opportunity to restore the village, and when he tried to kill, at the same time dragging Kurama into another world, with all the other Biju. She blamed all this on the fact that he was just confused, and she helped him sort himself out. That's what the blonde said at the council. Her kindness and benefactor infuriated him even more, especially towards him. Sasuke no longer knew where to get away from this ubiquitous blonde splinter, which was no longer stuck in the ass, but in the very heart. Coming out of the shower, he did not expect to immediately stumble upon Naruto sitting on the windowsill. Earlier than usual. Much earlier. And Sasuke began to reproach himself for thinking too much, that he didn't even hear her come in. When she heard the door open, she turned around, seeing almost a blazing fire of anger and rage in her amethyst eyes. But nothing will spoil her mood today. Even the usual unusual behavior of the Uchiha. Do you have any shame? Sasuke held his hand on his hip, holding a towel, which he managed to wrap around in a matter of seconds, while the girl turned her head in his direction. Although he had nothing to be ashamed of, in the war it was often possible to see even men and women washing in the river in the camps, absolutely not embarrassed by their nakedness in front of each other, but being naked in front of the ubiquitous Uzumaki was beyond his strength. Why? There was no answer. No, the girl shook her head, not even blinking an eye when she saw the almost naked Uchiha. So what? I have good news. It seems that she was holding back all this time, otherwise there is no way to explain the fact that a moment later she was jumping around his apartment as if stung, splashing her hands and shouting something inarticulate. You won't come to me anymore? Uchiha quipped, curling his lips in a malicious grin. Stop being sarcastic, topic. The already forgotten old appeal to him stirred up strange feelings in him, or rather, the meaning that she put into it before. It was he who caused these feelings. But she subdued her ardor, continuing to sparkle brighter than the sun, and it seemed that her mouth would soon crack, because no one could smile so widely. Well, tell me, Sasuke softened, leaning back against the smooth surface of the door and looking doubtfully at the former teammate. Probably, now she will say something like that she has found a new variety of tomatoes, or some other nonsense that can so excite this hyperactive person that hands are ready. And after that, such a squeal of happiness rang through the apartment that Sasuke went deaf for a second, and Naruto, having lowered the tonality, continued to jump from her overflowing emotions, and only now he noticed the damn tomatoes that were scattered on the floor. Kami-sama. Soon you won't come to me from doing nothing. Sasuke shared her joy, only he was more glad that it meant missions again, and missions are a certain amount of time that it will be impossible for them to see each other. Long live peace of mind, Uchiha exulted inwardly. Naruto abruptly drooped. This caustic phrase destroyed all the joy of the news, smashing it to smithereens. She was tired of this friend's impenetrability and coldness. It was painful to come to him every day in an attempt to support him, because everyone in the village was viciously whispering about the last Uchiha, seeing Madara's reflection in him, betrayed once, will betray again. He didn't inspire any confidence. That's how Uchiha was supported by almost everyone since graduation, but Naruto is very active, and she didn't care that Sasuke didn't care about these gossips and rumors. It turned out that every day she selflessly bangs her head against the wall in an attempt to pass through it, breaking her forehead into blood with masochistic stubbornness. Naruto was heartbroken by this, but since her ninja path is almost completed, she found herself another occupation, to make Sasuke Uchiha's life as ordinary as possible and finally establish a former friendship. After all, they have such a fate. All this time she suffered from his attitude to herself, but immense patience and faith in the good did not allow her to give up, but honestly, her hands dropped as soon as she left his apartment. And now she could not restrain herself, abruptly darkened and fell silent, hiding her eyes darkened with resentment and pain under a thick blonde bang. Inside, everything was torn from this, my heart ached and cracked at the seams. I support you, as it were. Kurama raged inside and threatened to kill the red-eyed. He was sick of the vessel being so killed by Uchiha. I didn't ask, the black-eyed man calmly remarked, boring her with a cold gaze, but inside everything shrank into a ball from her faded appearance. You shouldn't have. He could at least say thank you. It was already impossible to beat each time against the wall that he had built between them. The soul was broken into blood and succumbed to treatment slowly and painfully. The thought flashed through her head that it was a pity that he was not dressed, but otherwise she would have gladly grabbed him by the breasts and shaken him properly. Stopping next to him and standing on tiptoe, she looked into his eyes with undisguised fury blazing in her blue eyes, breathing equally into the chin area. I'm tearing my veins out here for you. And you, ungrateful scum. The girl was carried away, even outwardly she was shaking with undisguised irritation. I didn't ask you. Clearly, loudly, and with maximum pressure, he said, drilling Naruto with a withering look, which, if desired, could actually become such. At the moment, the brunette was experiencing not only discomfort from guilt, which revived at the sight of Jinchuriki, but now also from her impermissibly brazen proximity and unpunished intrusion into the personal comfort zone. Get away from me, Sasuke said with his usual cold intonation, complaining that it would be almost impossible to move her away. Naruto just gritted her teeth angrily, not finding what to answer, because Sasuke is right. Damn right, and she snapped. It's her own fault. What does she want from an emotionless bastard with psychological traumas, aggravated after Madara's revelation about the true reason for the murder of the clan? What the fuck am I doing here? She already didn't know whether to be angry at Uchiha or at herself for her stupidity. The fervor instantly cooled from understanding the current situation. She just put a high bar of expectations on him. Yes, for the first time she is waiting for at least some gratitude for her help. Yes, not from a man like this arrogant and proud brunette. The black-eyed man chuckled significantly in Uchikovsky, feeling how her hot breath, scorching the skin in the area of the chin, was beginning to unnerve him. He won't say anything about intimacy at all. And the most annoying thing is the smell. He was already beginning to greedily inhale the subtle sweet floral fruity fragrance emanating from her hair or skin. It was not given to him to understand this. For now, in short, I notified you, the girl made a mistake, the mood is spoiled. Sasuke is just a master at spoiling it. Inside, everything ached and groaned from disappointment and broken hopes. Strange, why is she so offended by this impenetrability and indifference of the Uchiha? Yes, it used to hurt too, but it wasn't so lousy in my heart. She took a step back, lowering her head, hiding her eyes behind her thick bangs. One more small step and she enchantingly steps on a tomato. Staggering from surprise, try to take a step to the left, but again, here's the infection, a tomato. One more step to the side and again a barrier. While she was trying to enter the place where there were no damn tomatoes, she got tangled in her legs and slipped on the crushed mud, flew with a battering ram at Uchiha, losing her balance. And the mind was not enough to stick to the floor with the help of the chakra. Uchiha rolled his eyes wearily. Naruto is such a Naruto. Even being a war heroine, she manages to slip on a tomato and fly down like a stone. It's even funny. Elite Shinobi laid a vegetable on his shoulder blades. Neither Obito, nor Madara, nor Kagaya, but a small soulless tomato. The brunette reacted quickly, managing to grab the girl by the elbow. The towel from the hips of course flew under my feet, but it's true, it's okay. In fact, Shinobi has no sense of embarrassment and shame, and Naruto is a clear example of this, since he breaks into his home consistently once a day without thinking about the fact that he is a guy, and maybe he has a girlfriend here, or he likes to walk around the house naked. Uzumaki pressed her face into the guy's chest, feeling a sharp pain in her nose. Does he have iron ribs? Even sparks flew from his eyes and the bridge of his nose burned from the collision with the Uchiha's chest, but after a moment it was clear that this was a minor blow, half the trouble. The sharp smell of shower gel immediately hit my nose, strangely intoxicating, even my eyes swam, and it was exciting to feel the cool and moist skin of the guy with my cheek. And from this weakness spread in the legs and they gave way, but even then Sasuke reacted, holding his only hand on the weight, trying to lift his clumsy girlfriend to her feet. The dope fell off as quickly as it came. The shoulder, intercepted by the strong hand of the Uchiha, began to numb and tingle. To achieve balance, the blonde leaned her hand on the small of her friend's back, realizing with some wild horror that there was no towel covering. "Oh, mommies," the skin immediately burned from the touch, although you can't call it a touch. Uzumaki clung to him with a death grip, pressing even closer to his body. The head went round from such proximity, both of them. The blood was boiling and boiling. Kami-sama only knows how much it took him to maintain a normal heart rhythm, and no, the adventures didn't end there. Naruto decided to bring him to the peak of madness at all. Abruptly straightening up, she, damn her, smeared his chest with her lips. Light, weightless to the point of outrageously hot and exciting touch found a response throughout the body. Uchiha stretched out from the tension, enjoying the painful aftertaste of this accidental touch. Enjoying, yes, her lips were like a red-hot knife slicing through the skin. No, not touching a butterfly, not like in novels. Worse, much worse. They were imprinted with a hot iron in the heart and on the skin, so that later they mercilessly remind themselves of the scars left in the soul. The girl's cheeks were flushed. She had never been so ashamed. The look was full of confusion and embarrassment, and it was so exciting. And who, I wonder, said that shinobi will have a sense of shame? Uchiha could not resist and touched her scarlet and hot cheek with his hand with terrifying tenderness, running his fingertips along the stripes that sometimes make her look like a fox. Naruto was electrocuted and nailed to the floor, his legs seemed to be filled with lead. She looked shocked at the same cold and impenetrable Uchiha, who also grinned when he saw her reaction, continuing completely inappropriate manipulations. She didn't know whether to enjoy the gesture or run away screaming. It was both pleasant and frightening at the same time. But what was she afraid of more than the warm and exciting feelings that fell on her head with his touch, or the fact that Uchiha did it? His mother, Sasuke. Uchiha gently strokes her cheek. The guy's palm did not stop there, gently moving to the cheekbone, murderously slowly and stupefyingly gently fell on the neck. Goodbye control. The look of amethyst eyes glided over the flushed face, memorizing, burning in his own brain a confused and red from embarrassment Naruto. Drowning in a whirlpool of painfully sweet feelings, he dived into it with his head, focusing on his lips slightly parted in amazement. His fingers dug into the soft golden hair, covering the back of his head with his palm. Without thinking for a moment more, he approached the girl, closing the already small distance between them, which suddenly seemed like an abyss. The girl twitched nervously and even sluggishly tried to turn away, but Sasuke did not allow her such a liberty. Yielding to the moment, he covered her lips, imperiously and greedily, instantly receiving an answer, pushed her away. He did not expect that she would answer so quickly, without a struggle. Common sense returned, shouting that if he continued, he would definitely lose himself by dissolving into this unbearable blonde. There was no longer that transcendent clarity in the blue eyes, only a fog of intoxicating dope. She stood in front of him with a look of complete incomprehension, blinking often and licking her lips. Damn, the black eyes darkened again, the same desire that pushed him to this ill-fated kiss stirred inside. If she doesn't leave now, he's going to lose his mind at the end. Naruto caught herself quickly, catching the trajectory of his gaze. Covering her lips burning with fire with her palm, she stared at the Uchiha in horror with all her eyes, wondering what it had just been. And damn, it's so nice that everything inside is reduced from the sweet aftertaste of wet and hot lips of a brunette. Get out, I've already got it. She didn't have to repeat it twice. The girl rushed headlong to the window, still crushing tomatoes, leaving not only a mess on the floor, but also in Sasuke's soul. Naruto didn't come back, even when there were breaks between missions. She did not shine her stupidly happy face and did not wave a cellophane bag with tomatoes with a friendly rustle. It turns out that he is used to her unbearable presence in his humble abode. I had to learn all the delights of longing for someone. Damn, Sasuke. Uchiha is pining for an unbearable blonde. It is incomprehensible to the mind. Tsunade did not give him missions, still looking incredulous, and Kakashi will not soon take the post of Kage. It will be easier to negotiate with him. Mortal boredom brought him to the point that he was completely alone loitering along the streets of Konoha being rebuilt. Uzumaki achieved her goal without even making an effort. Sasuke left the house. The absence of an ever-active and noisy teammate affected him not in the best way. Yes, and the last event. That kiss stuck tightly in my head, occupying all my thoughts. Shinigami is a witness. He was bored, madly, and wanted more. His selfish and self-centered nature screamed about it. Discouraging consciousness. It was a shocking discovery to realize that the annoying and in every sense unbearable Naruto could not only occupy all his thoughts, but also cling to his heart with pincers. He almost hated and despised her. From the very beginning. It was hard to admit my own affection to myself. Sometimes it seemed like it was just a terrible dream, a damn genjutsu, but not reality. Uchiha Sasuke is attached to Naruto Uzumaki, to the girl he hated for her carelessness and discouraging stupidity, for her enchanting charm and unbreakable friendliness. It was a unpleasant surprise to see the object of his thoughts in the city square, sitting on a bench and drinking juice. The familiar two high golden tails and the absence of the usual tracksuit immediately caught my eye. Uzumaki was sitting with her face exposed to the rays of the sun, funny squinting from the bright light, swinging her legs and smiling to her thoughts. In his memory, he sees Naruto for the first time in different clothes, and to be honest, it would be better if she was in an ordinary eye-watering suit with her bright color than in a short t-shirt and shorts. I wanted to cover up this disgrace until my teeth creaked, because male people passing by cast not very good looks at her, or Sasuke himself invented them. It seemed as if random passers-by almost undressed her with their eyes, and some brazenly groped her all in their thoughts. And again, what is he thinking about? Jealousy flooded him to the brim. It became clear that it was unbearable for him to just look and do nothing, and he also wanted to strangle those brave souls who looked at her with such looks. Burn all the Amaterasus. Chop into minced meat. Although Uchiha was no different, he looked greedily at her slender legs with sharp knees, a flat stomach and barely protruding ribs, thin arms, smooth curves of the shoulder, protruding collarbones, small, but no less tempting breasts. That's disgusting. She can be feminine whenever she wants. Damn Uzumaki. The brunette cursed mentally, still studying and devouring her, unable to look away. All the mental locks flew off again. To be next to her in a split second is no problem. It turned out to be faster to pull off the gray raincoat. The girl's lips stretched into a satisfied smile. She has been feeling his presence for a minute, and now she is even closer. Probably standing next to him and angry. Mission accomplished. Uchiha is angry and shows almost everyone his rights to her. A familiar smell hit my nose, and a cloak rustled down on my shoulders, hiding the exposed parts of my body. The owner, Naru, grumbled with displeasure, opening one eye and stretching her lips in a sly smile. But this is superfluous. The girl quickly removed the unnecessary thing, throwing it at the feet of the Uchiha, continuing to enjoy the excellent weather and sunbathing. P.F. Sasuke didn't even know what to say to such impudence. In fact, the girl told the harsh truth. Kami-sama, yes, she turns out to have brains. That's a surprise. He had just seen her from the other side, completely unusual and eerily attractive. No, it would have been better if he had nailed her then. There were as many opportunities, and he felt sorry for her, and now he feels sorry for himself that he was imbued with frighteningly warm and very touching feelings for her. Lifting the raincoat, he again threw it over the bare shoulders of the blonde, wrapped it tightly, and Shunshin carried it to her apartment, ignoring the surprised look and immediately evaporating as soon as her feet touched the floor. After all, Sasuke is the best at running away, leaving no answers. The last representative of the Uchiha clan himself did not remember how long his vision of the world was limited to dry information in a black and white wrapper. The realization that only after returning to the village, these dull colors began to be diluted with almost new, long forgotten, in the times of serene early childhood, colors of different shades, overtook quite suddenly. It is even more accurate to say about today, he has not experienced such a palette of emotions yet. The brightness and variety of emotions could be compared with one blonde special, changing in character as quickly as the notorious Hashirama Senju, except that she rarely fell from extreme to extreme, and for this special thanks to her, the brunette came to some confusion when new colors were added, and these emotions did not let him go for a long time. The myth that Uchiha are insensitive scoundrels was bursting at the seams, as was the composure of the former trader, whose virtuoso, at first glance, control over emotions could not stand up to one overly emotional girl, bending more and more under her pressure every day, revealing more and more Uchiha genuine emotions. His brave composure dissolved under the yoke of paints having a poisonous consistency, poisoning and corroding ability. Otherwise, why did his steadfastness falter, and the icy calmness melted near the sun of Konoha, and the usual paints filling his whole life were awarded destructive and tedious associations? Orange was strongly associated with her invariable costume, which hid all the charms of a girlish figure under it, simplifying communication with Jinchuriki. Male friends still perceived her as their own, not seeing in her the most important gender differences. It was incredibly gratifying, golden, her hair, soft and long, and smells nice from them. And when he saw this color, he remembered the subtle fruity floral fleur and the softness of Naruto's hair. And wherever he saw this color, the very moment when his palm, entangled in light curls, pulled the back of his head closer to collide with his lips, constantly surfaced in his head. Cherry is the shade of her lips after a kiss, and it tastes almost the same, sweet, sour and juicy. Damn, they sell these damn cherries everywhere and one look is enough to burn your lips with warmth. Accordingly, it awakened the desire to touch her lips again, so that they again acquired this shade of red. Swamp green flashed before my eyes when the male part of the population, seeing the heroine, aspired to her, shaking hands, giving sweets, flowers, inviting me on a date to the most suitable place for this, the notorious Ichiraku and Uzumaki, stupidly smiling, agreed to invitations, accepting gifts that I wanted to wipe out all the big, name suitors into powder, and this is the minimum. Fists were clenched every time to a crunch in the joints, and the thirst for murder reeked for meters. And if negligent shinobi or civilians paid homage to their golden-haired idol in front of his eyes, then he did not disdain, driving them away with his heavy aura, passing by and not deigning to look at the blonde, who for some reason smiled slyly, rather squinting her eyes, throwing a fleeting glance at his gloomy face like a cloud saturated red. Such were the dreams, painful and sweet, filled with fiery passion. He also dreamed of this negligent loser, dazzling with golden hair color, pressing her body in an orange and black suit, driving her crazy with cherry lips. And there is nothing to say about desire, it grew in proportion to thoughts about her. Definitely, it was easier for him to live when she appeared in his apartment every day, and even crossing an invisible line, it would still be easier for him, because if Naruto Uzumaki with mutton stubbornness still dragged herself to him with damn tomatoes, spitting on his momentary anger, then Sasuke would not have to experience all this a murderous confusion of feelings and to go blind in a riot of colors. Because a new color flowed from here, and all this cacophony of feelings formed into a prickly black, longing for this person, and this made me think about her more and more often, fantasizing about where and with whom. If Uzumaki were around, there would be fewer thoughts. Sasuke goes crazy, feeling the elusive edge of fantasy with his skin. These invisible lines invented by an inflamed brain excite not only the body, but also the consciousness, imprinting wherever possible. The brunette is rushing around the bed, but neither the icy moonlight nor the cool breeze, stirring the thin airy fabric of the curtains, cool the skin. Naruto Uzumaki, with all her inherent audacious impudence, bursts into dreams, eating sweet dope into unsophisticated fantasies, poisoning them with her presence that it becomes too much in his life, as if he is trying to make up for the time that he personally took from them, leaving the village for revenge, betraying everything that was dear, abandoning attachments and connections. Sasuke chuckled. Even at a distance, he does not stop exerting any kind of influence on him, even in such a unpleasant way. The last phrase was incredibly difficult to the surprise of the Uchiha clan dojutsu bearer. Sasuke honestly didn't understand what could attract him at all in such shameless penetrations into his dreams. It's excruciating, but so sweet. She dreams with frightening frequency, filling him to the brim, and every night dreams become hotter, more passionate and cross all the edges of reason, exposing true desires, and it scares. Uchiha is in no hurry to admit that he is not only attached to the blue-eyed blonde, but also that he feels some kind of warm feelings for her. Sasuke does not know how to admit his weaknesses, having refused it for quite a long time, and Uzumaki gradually becomes a weakness, constantly hinting that he is an ordinary person with his weaknesses, able to feel something besides cold and emptiness. Even in a dream, he resists her naively innocent charms, enveloping every cell of the body. Her childlike spontaneity is intertwined with unexpectedly mature femininity and drives you crazy. The brunette did not expect that he could fall so low, condescending to primitive feelings of attraction, to a wild desire to possess her all, to want to kiss soft tender lips to a rich burgundy color, to see purple marks of passion on tanned skin, to hear sensuous loud moans from her sweet mouth on the verge of screaming, to fill his body with her to the brim again and again. Hey, Uchiha, wake up. Naruto broke in through the window as always, slipping into Sasuke's bed with a barely noticeable shadow. He was sleeping soundly, tightly pursed lips, drenched in cold sweat. The blonde gently put her hand on her shoulder, trying to shake her, bending over her friend. Taimi. The blue-eyed one stretched out, loosening her grip and blowing lightly on the pale face, because the previous manipulations did not help. If you don't wake up now, I can't vouch for myself. Inside, everything shrank with excitement. Is this how you have to get tired so that Uchiha sleeps so soundly, but restlessly, without feeling her presence from the first seconds? Sasuke didn't know if he was waking up or still sleeping, because that damn Naruto was there, tickling his skin with his breath, bending over his face unacceptably close. No, he felt someone else's presence in his gut, but he could not distinguish whether it was a dream or not, because he recognized the familiar energy, and the dope of sleep had not yet fallen asleep. Sasuke. She called again, pulling him by the cheeks, in an attempt to interrupt his restless sleep. Reflexes worked automatically. As soon as the thin fingers gently pulled on the skin, a strong hand twisted her figure so that she did not have time to blink, as she was pressed to the bed, and the skin of her throat was cold with the blade of the kunai. The girl stared with her big blue eyes without blinking, looking into the amethyst ones, smiling conciliatingly. I woke up at least. The girl swallowed nervously, straining her whole body, but not from the blade, which is about to cut the skin, but from the fact that Sasuke is heavy, and this heaviness of the body tightly pressing into her slender, but not at all fragile, caused strange feelings, a little warm and tickling, concentrating into a tangled tangle in the area between the stomach and the heart, which made me feel sick. What the hell are you doing here? Sasuke was ready to cut her throat anyway, for her audacious impudence, which led them to a horizontal and very ambiguous position. The obsession from dreams has not yet subsided, everything inside is stretched into a string that is about to burst, and Uzumaki will not be well, because he is still an egoist who longs to satisfy his needs, and dreams clearly hinted what he craves so much. Almost like the same notorious revenge. Naruto is next to him, under him, and he feels the warmth of someone else's body with his skin. Yes, the horizontal position will not lead them to anything good, and Sasuke is about to break. Tsunade, she gave us a mission, calls us to her. She asked me to come for you. The girl innocently fluttered her fluffy eyelashes, stretching her lips in an awkward smile. She was somewhat unnerved by such closeness to Sasuke, especially after his strange kiss and that ostentatious jealousy, but she tried not to think about all this, protecting herself from problems. They are friends, and he just keeps going crazy because of the war, the loss of his whole family, Danzo's vile order and much more. Uchiha closed his eyes, trying to calm the raging blood. To feel the desired body under him is beyond his strength. Even when he closed his eyes, he saw Naruto in front of him. This devil penetrated even through her eyelids, forcing her to see only herself. He still removed the kunai, putting it under the pillow, but he was in no hurry to get up from it, burying his nose in this very pillow, inhaling the destructive smell of blonde hair, golden thread scattered on the bed. Get off me, the girl rested her hands on his torso, trying to push off the strong body of her friend, so far without using force. Yes, kunai was a surprise, but she wouldn't let herself die so stupidly. After all, you can't get her through such tricks. From his weight, the girl began to suffocate, her breathing became confused, became heavy and somehow ragged, and an attempt to push him caused a strangled groaning, more like horse moans. Sasuke felt it and his lower abdomen was cramped from the excitement that flared up with a bright flame. This was not enough for him yet. And he hurried to do what Naruto asked before she felt his reaction to her inexorably close presence with her skin and flesh. For added reliability, he also pushed her off the bed, feeling some kind of sadistic satisfaction when the girl groaned loudly, having collided with the floor with a loud noise. For there is nothing to pull sleeping people's cheeks in the middle of the night and cause desire for all sorts of obscenities. Naruto muttered, not expecting such a trick, painfully hitting the wooden floor with her bony ass. Couldn't you have been more careful? The golden-haired woman was loudly indignant, getting to her feet and rubbing her bruised fifth point. I'm waiting for you at Tsunade's. Uzumaki muttered resentfully, and then immediately disappeared in a cloud of shunshin, leaving Uchiha alone with his problems. Naruto was far from the stupid girl that most people thought she was. Unpredictable, noisy, funny, sometimes clumsy, yes, but not stupid. But in the presence of Uchiha, she felt stupid. Outrageously stupid, if not even stupid. Always and at all times. It hasn't changed. He is a genius, and she is a loser. He is calculating and cold-blooded, while she is long and hard looking for a way out of the situation, simultaneously gushing emotions right and left. And all his impenetrable gloom, arrogance slipping in and out of his movements and glances made him think of himself as a crooked loser with a minimum of brains. And even now, when they came to an agreement that they were equal in strength, Naruto continued to experience this burning and hurtful feeling. When Sasuke kissed the blonde himself under very embarrassing circumstances, she blamed it on stress and lack of female attention, since the last of the Uchiha clan no longer had its own fan club, and even Sakura safely forgot about her first love, reciprocating Rock Lee. And Jubi himself will break his 10 tails, trying to understand what is going on in the head of this crazy Avenger. Well, I thought he was just mocking her. But the humor is kind of bad. But it was all an excuse, for herself, so it was easier to continue to communicate with Sasuke when he made it clear, perhaps against his will, that he was attracted to her as a girl. She tried painfully to forget this momentary impulse, but her lips burned with memories, and her thoughts turned back to that moment again and again. And from all these thoughts, she felt terribly stupid again, dipping into the skin of a 12-year-old Sakura. Although this topic of insanely complex chemistry of love and building on all this shaky, almost ephemeral, soil of relationships, the blonde herself was far away from her, intuitively trying to figure out what was going on with the vengeful genius and what caused that incident. This did not negate the fact that she was interested in this significantly insignificant embarrassment, and this time it was much more pleasant to touch his lips than in the golden and carefree times of the academy. At that time, it was disgusting to casually exchange lip touches, and then it was excitingly pleasant to be burdened not only with touches, but already with liquids, because Uchiha brazenly pushed his tongue into her mouth, and after some time, when Sasuke possessively wrapped her in a cloak and moved her home, it gave excellent ground for reasoning on the topic of Uchiha jealousy, which could prove that Jinchuriki is not indifferent to him not only as a friend, but also as a girl. But the thought that it was just his selfishness was buzzing in his bright head. And it was strange, because she couldn't restrain a sly smile anyway. Such behavior of an estranged friend amused wounded pride as much as it scared at the same time. In general, this whole topic with feelings and love scared her to hell out of panic, because Blue-Eyed did not orient herself in it, killing all her childhood and youth to improve strength, in an attempt to prove that Naruto Uzumaki is not worthless, not garbage. Sasuke played a major role in this, acting as an excellent incentive, and in fact everything that she has achieved now is the merit of Uchiha Sasuke. Kami-sama, don't let me say it out loud to her someday. And then he's generally conceited, but a worm of doubt gnawed through her brain, settling right in the core of the gray matter and stubbornly insisting that her logic was just an attempt to disown the obvious fact. Self-defense of a heart that has suffered enough because of a brunette. So to speak, denial of the terrible truth. As Sasuke did not show that he felt something for her, so she kept calm, brushing off these annoying thoughts about amorous nonsense and stoically resisted the desire to look at the Sharingan asshole from a different angle, not as a friend. I didn't want to ruin their strong friendship because of Sasuke's suddenly clouded mind, and her burning curiosity about what would come of it. Just think, some kind of kiss, well, what's that deep, sensual and passionate? Who doesn't happen to? She is a smart girl and chose an excellent behavior tactic, maintaining her former appearance and steadfastly ignoring these minor events, continuing to live on as she lived, only somewhat avoiding the black-haired guy. But somewhere deep inside, hoping that Sasuke still fell in love with her, no matter how stupid it sounds, because the heart is strangely jumping from his presence, and thoughts turn back to that strange kiss. Uchiha realized every day that he was about to go off the rails, which was generally a novelty for him. Even from the obsession to take revenge, there was no such result. He just dreamed and aspired to it, but here everything was different and more complicated. Sasuke has never had to go crazy for a girl. By her excessive closeness and inability to take what she wants. And in general, when did the brunette care about the comfort of his partner, their friends, damn it all? This loud and cheerful blonde does not look at him differently, and it makes him angry. It makes him damn angry that he will soon grind his own teeth to powder if he constantly grits his teeth angrily when he turns the stream of thoughts to Uzumaki again and again. But the worst part is that on this damn mission they will have to spend 3 months alone with each other. And it seems that this is beyond his strength. The mighty and great Sasuke Uchiha feels his weakness next to her. Either she is really a fool, or on the contrary she is smart and reasonable, because she staunchly ignores his greedy glances, which he throws in her direction against his will. Even a blind man will notice them. And he continues to behave at ease, innocently flapping his eyelashes, emphasizing their friendship, casually showing him his place in their relationship. Sasuke is already almost delirious with her lips, constantly studying the soft contour. When she changes clothes, he peeps like the last pervert, trying to catch more bare skin with his eyes. It was really crazy. My head ached from all this mercilessly. His own desire drives him crazy and constantly collides with a wall where friendship is written in large hieroglyphs. Uchiha does not want to destroy this strong bond with her own hand again, which gradually heals the heart, forcing her to stay afloat and not fall into depression. No matter how grandiloquent it may sound for his egocentric and proud nature, but he values her as a friend. Naruto filled the entire void in his soul, at the same time cutting off a significant piece of his heart and thoughts. A little more and she will completely fill him to the brim, and then he will not stand, rushing to fill her soul and body with himself, remaining blind to all her protests, and Uzumaki flutters around him like a butterfly, chirps something and smiles cheerfully, behaves so casually and innocently that I want to take and erase this damn mask from this cunning muzzle. Is she as cunning and calculating as other women? She does not try to show that she is not against such views and does not nip them in the bud by showing all her excessive emotionality. Does he enjoy the attention to his person? Does the blonde not see his desire and throwing? Can't she feel the damn spark from his touch? Yes, he has been burning next to her for a long time, sparkling right and left. Does she really not feel with her skin how he caresses her with a hard look, afraid to touch her with his fingers? Sasuke Uchiha will just snap at one fine moment, the roof will fly and the desire will flood with his head, and then he will drive her into a frenzy until she exposes her real feelings, and to hell with friendship. Uchiha is good at ruining all the best, and building it is unclear what is on these ruins. No. He's not going crazy anymore, he's already gone, losing all sanity, and when he was so imbued with all these crazy feelings for her, Black-Eyed did not even imagine. It crawled out by itself, poisoning every cell of the body. Naruto is basking in hot water, leaning his head back on a folded terry towel, neatly lying on a stone. It's been a long time since she took relaxing baths at the springs. The moisture on the bronze skin glistens seductively, attracts attention with the play of light. Drops of different sizes constantly roll from place to place, sometimes drowning in slightly cloudy water. Uchiha does not know where to put herself. Her gaze constantly turns to her bare shoulders and collarbones, lowers her to the water's edge, which helpfully hides all the most interesting things. Sasuke is sitting opposite in an attempt to relax and at the same time envying her unshakable calm and angry that she can be so at ease with him in the same bath. Hell, since when did she decide that men and women should be in the same bathhouse? This damn Uzumaki, as always, does not shine with intelligence. This little devil will bring him down. So she came all this almost undressed, wrapped in a towel and with a big smile and casual chat plunged into the water, getting comfortable, taking out a wet towel from under the water, throwing the useless thing on the lawn. And why the fuck hasn't he released his tension in the nearest brothel yet? Yes, even in a cafe or hotel, it doesn't matter. The main thing is that the girl is nearby, satisfying all his desires. Anyway, Sasuke is a handsome man, and individuals of the opposite sex themselves often flock to him like flies to jam, trying to seduce. And Naruto merrily teased him that now, the fan club is being revived, it's time to revive the clan and she doesn't mind if he doesn't spend the night in their room. Sasuke, why are you avoiding girls? As soon as she read his thoughts, she started talking about her personal life. Outside the village, they cling to you like that. Uzumaki raised her head, opening one eye, carefully watching the Uchiha and the crackling mask of his vaunted composure. So maybe a conversation will distract from his gloomy thoughts. Or are you with us for boys now? The girl asked maliciously, smiling slyly. Mind your own business, the brunette said angrily, trying to focus on the starry sky, and not the cleavage between her breasts that appeared out of the water. So, for boys, the blonde summed up, having made her conclusions, and then in order to annoy the Sharingan bearer, it's her hobby, after all, to drive the genius of the Uchiha out of herself. Plunging back into the water up to the collarbone and leaning her head back on an improvised pillow, Naruto continued to stretch her lips in a smile just as maliciously. Did he really change Orochimaru's orientation? No, nonsense, she still remembers that fleeting hot kiss and the manifestation of jealousy. And a second did not pass, as she immediately felt Sasuke's presence very close to her. Such speed, he even managed not to shake the water, instantly erasing the smug expression from the blue-eyed woman's face. Do you want to prove that you don't like boys? Red spots of anger clouded his eyes. Where is the logic in this girl at all? And this statement made him so angry that he intended to prove the opposite, right here and now, especially since his hands had been itching for a long time, and not only them. Even if you are my friend, this does not negate the fact that you are a girl of very attractive appearance." The guy snuggled closer to the body of the teammate so that she could feel with her skin that everything was fine with his orientation. "You cool down." The Uzumaki started up and recoiled to the side with horror. The girl did not expect such a desperate and frank bravery of a friend when she felt his answer with her hip. The brain is hooked on this friend with a small but. Does Uchiha like her? The world is going crazy. Maybe you didn't hear my answer. Uchiha grabbed her by the arms and pulled her towards him. And when the girl almost fell into the water up to the top of her head, he grabbed the blonde under the buttocks, sitting her on his hips with some wild pleasure, reveling in the weight of her body and trying to look into her eyes, and not at the breasts that were clearly exposed more than enough. "Are you completely crazy or something?" She didn't know where to put herself, blushing with embarrassment from her heels to the tips of her hair. Now the answer to her question rested on the inside of her thigh, somewhat unnerving with its annoying pulsation. "It all startled and confused me so much. Stop provoking and driving you crazy," Uchiha coldly remarks, intercepting wrists for reliability. "If anything happens, they'll blow this onsen to hell, or even the whole village. They have enough power. What am I provoking you with?" She tried to get up from his lap with all her might. "Okay, almost all of them. By myself," the brunette replied, unable to restrain himself. He is tired of just watching and listening. He wants to give himself more and more to his needs and desires, and perhaps a hint of feelings. He already needs it almost as much as the air. "Uchiha, are you sick?" His words were deafening. Does she drive a cold-blooded, unshakable, almost insensitive Avenger crazy? No, he's really crazy. He has a fever, an illness, and he's just delirious. Can't this be? Or, the blue-eyed woman even tried to put her hand to his forehead, but the brunette did not loosen his grip, not allowing him to make this gesture to try to convict him of poor health. "Yes, by you." He looked straight into her eyes, trying to understand how this sunny blonde would react to all this, because there was not that storm of feelings, as usual. Only restrained remarks, weak attempts to escape, and to convict him of dementia. "No, dear, even I can't convict myself of dementia." Naruto squinted her eyes, peering into his face, still looking for signs that Sasuke had been struck down by a loss of sanity and he was ill with at least schizophrenia. "You're crazy." A heavy convulsive sigh and a statement of fact escaped from his lips. "Okay, there's a kiss, jealousy, but openly show your desire in this way. This is too much. Yes, short and firm, in the style of Uchiha, and the blackness of the eyes is obscured by a strange haze and his lips for some reason stretch in a strange smile. Uzumaki even recoiled, for a moment afraid of the fire that burns inside him, fearing that the flames will spread to her. "They call me a friend too. Pervert, that's who you are. And you're definitely sick, you're delirious." Naru staggered back, averting her eyes, feverishly thinking how to get out of the captivity of his hands with minimal consequences for this hot spring. "Find yourself a woman already." The blonde hissed angrily, seeing that Sasuke was reaching out to her, and she disappeared right at the moment when their lips were supposed to meet in a kiss, with the help of a newly learned hiration. And in general, who does this crazy asshole take her for? But her heart is beating faster, and her thoughts turn to the fact that she would not mind trying to build a relationship with Sasuke, just not in this way. Uzumaki. Through his teeth, the Uchiha muttered angrily, dreaming of destroying everything here to hell. He could alienate her from himself with his crazy intemperance. And so I broke a lot of firewood, and then I showed my desire. How sometimes this blonde daube infuriates him. First provokes, and then runs away. Fuck, these women will understand. Their roles have been reversed since that fateful night. Naruto was running away, Sasuke was catching up. It used to be the opposite. And he is so used to this that the blonde always tries to catch up with him, return, and now runs away. That's the irony, they switched roles, and Sasuke was angry about it. Uchiha went into a frenzy from Uzumaki's attempts to avoid him, hiding in corners. It looked ridiculous for Kunoichi of her level, but he was no longer laughing. The brunette, gritting his teeth, pulled her out from around the corner almost by the scruff of the neck and dragged her by force to the next city. The blue-eyed one struggled, kicked, hissed, scratched, but from time to time she broke out of the strong grip, lifted her chin and walked with a proud gait, averting her gaze, keeping silence, which was atypical for her. Sasuke cursed the very moment when, under the yoke of primitive instincts, his composure cracked and he was blown away, and he confessed to the girl that he felt a magnetic attraction to her, or rather to her body, and was going crazy from it. That's what scared Uzumaki. The girl wrapped herself more tightly in a black raincoat, covering her blushing face with a stand-up collar and glancing sideways at her partner friend, still trying to find signs of dementia. They urgently needed to talk, to put all the dots on the notorious I, but all confidence in this was melting rapidly and mercilessly under the gaze of amethyst eyes, glancing at the scarlet cheeks, and the girl felt like an eternally embarrassed and blushing Hinata near the object of her sighing. That's just for Sasuke, she did not sigh with dreamy intonations, and all this went on for 2 weeks. She ran away, he caught, and the conversation never stuck, no matter how hard they both tried. Sasuke simply did not know how to talk a lot, and to express his feelings in words, and Naruto simply did not know how to start a conversation. The tension between them grew, sparkled and pressed on young minds, and all this angered Sasuke so much that he could not restrain himself when he once again walked with a firm gait to the golden-haired one training alone, and she expectedly ran away, flashing her heels and light tails at parting, broke down. Naruto realized this when a strong body pressed her against the wall, catching up in her room of the hotel in which they rented accommodation. Don't even try, the last of the Uchiha flashed his eyes angrily, trying to reduce her attempts to escape to nothing. The body pressed against the wall actively resisted. Let go. The blonde jumped up, breathing heavily, feeling how her own hopeless situation and Sasuke's arrogant face glowing with superiority are beginning to annoy. She really can't cope. This bastard suppresses her chakra with his own. She didn't care so much that some time ago Uchiha with his own hands, and not only, created a gap between them. Otherwise I can't vouch for myself. Naruto spat poison, but it looked like harmless threats of a hamster to a snake. What scares you? He presses her harder against the wall, feeling his chest heaving from the pressure exerted. You're sick. The blonde snorts, turning away from Sasuke, because his face is so close, and his black eyes are drawn into their black and bottomless pool. Stop it. Uchiha sighs wearily, pressing her forehead to the girl's temple, covering her eyes and noisily inhaling a pleasant floral fragrance with her nose. Naruto jerked strangely and froze. I would like to think that in surprise and humility. What? In a hoarse voice, because it's getting harder and harder to breathe, and not because Sasuke almost pressed her into the wall, but because of the feelings his hot, even breathing on her cheek causes. Avoid me, Uchiha calmly gives out, noticing the rapid pulse and hoarseness in the voice of the teammate. I'm not avoiding you. A brazen lie flies from her lips before Uzumaki thought, but after she realized that her words sound ridiculously stupid, and she will only deceive. And who is she going to deceive with this ridiculously improbable lie? Here, Sasuke grinned, so barely noticeable. Just accept the fact that I like you, Sasuke says, lowering his voice, easing the pressure, otherwise the girl will stop breathing. Look how she suffocates from the fact that has fallen on her. And everything will fall into place. He accepted this fact a few days ago and life became a little easier, at least he figured himself out. You're scaring me, Uzumaki honestly admitted. At first, she was flattered by the Uchiha's attention and she just enjoyed his oblique glances and fleetingly sparkling feelings in the depths of those black pupils, rejoicing that this avenger was not so cold. Well, I will accept it, and what should I do with it? Not what she expected, not at all. The fleeing and repulsive Sasuke is more familiar. She was satisfied with this alignment of events, because all her attention was focused on catching, shaking, and putting on the right path, and then naturally pulling him out of the clutches of loneliness. This distracted her from her own feelings, in which for some time she began to dig deeper and deeper, finding more and more new sides of Sasuke. For example, I finally saw the light and realized that this burning brunette with thin aristocratic features is very attractive, but how does he kiss? Well, here's another plus sign found for the image of a friend to enjoy. Not at all gently and gently grabbing her chin, he turned her to face him, looking into the crystal blue of her eyes, where solid doubt splashed. The girl swallowed convulsively, looking into the dark eyes and immediately losing herself in the pool of Sasuke's feelings, and then under the pressure of demanding lips, knocked out all thoughts like a sledgehammer blow. Her heart is pounding loudly, even too much. This annoying, awkward knock covers the noise around them. Sasuke clearly hears how this long-suffering muscle is beating against the chest of the blue-eyed woman in a crazy rhythm, trying to break the ribs and most likely fall at the feet of the brunette. Why? Because the heat spreads in a swift wave from his lips, soaking under her skin and mixing with her own, so that a fire breaks out inside from the collision. It seems that the heart against her will accepted defeat in this fight and dutifully recognized Uchiha Sasuke as the winner. And it all looks like a hint that all this time she just didn't realize that she was in love with this slightly human block of ice. There's how loudly he hints, but what's there? He's already shouting about it. The blood also runs loudly through the veins, seethes, boils, knocks the alarm in the temples, roars with the sound of the surf in the ears. Uchiha works wonders with her circulatory system with just her lips, greedily crushing her own. His own body ceases to obey and is like jelly, the same trembling and soft in the strong hands of a partner. Thus artlessly surrendering under the pressure of a black-eyed brunette, in spite of her own remnant of reason, which is still shuddering in attempts to resist, but there is neither strength nor desire to resist with every imperious touch. Closing her astonished eyes, the girl responds to the obsessive caress, drowning her head in the whirlpool of her own and other people's feelings. She will think about Sasuke's sincerity later, and now Naruto will be stunned by the pounding of her own heart, hugging and selflessly kissing Uchiha when thin arms wrap around his neck, pulling him closer, and sweet moist lips reciprocate, and he gets loud. In the head, in the heart, in the ears. The former Avenger no longer catches the threads of reality, plunging into his fantasies with his head with the easy submission of a teammate, and he is ready to drown in her, in this sea of pleasure endlessly under the thundering pounding of her and his heart. This is fate, the girl whispers softly, basking in warm embrace and counting the beats of his heart. You don't believe in her, as I remember, Sasuke remarks, fingering the golden strands, enjoying the silkiness of her hair. Don't forget, our lives are prescribed, whether we want it or not. The war proved it to us, the girl whispers softly, feeling bitterness in her soul from the memories of the past. Perhaps, Uchiha does not argue, realizing that it is useless to argue with her. She will find such arguments with her logical illogicality that victory in this verbal duel will remain with her. It seems that you and I will have to walk hand in hand all our lives. Somehow Kunoichi smiles affectionately, sliding his fingers along the ribs, gently and weightlessly touching the alabaster skin. Uchiha intercepts the girl's hand, unable to withstand the sweet pressure of affection. He is trying to let Naruto get used to his feelings. First of all, she must realize what she is experiencing, and Uchiha can wait a little, especially since they have already discussed everything. She also drives him crazy, only much stronger, because now he can touch her, hug her, kiss her, but he, like an insatiable beast, cannot be satisfied with this. He needs more. Naruto Uzumaki needs him both soul and body, all without a trace, and only him. Each of her touches causes a tremor, intersecting with tension in the very bottom of the abdomen, which is intertwined with a tangle of his inadequate sympathy for her, and in a moment it becomes extremely hot. Everything is very possible. Sasuke gently kisses the intercepted thin fingers, sometimes hinting with his lips that he wants more and much more mature, wrapping his fingers around his mouth so that Naruto shudders every now and then, strays into ragged breathing, hiding crimson cheeks on his chest. Sasuke, stop it, you're embarrassing me, the blonde grumbles, shuddering all over again when another finger on the second phalanx is in the hot humidity of someone else's mouth, and the tongue playfully slides over the skin. It's maddening. Stop talking in vain, he stops, freeing a thin pen, which Uzumaki immediately removes, hiding under a thin blanket. If he had continued, there was a high probability that his mind would have capitulated under the pressure of the ragged breath of a golden-haired and very palpable tremor of a fragile body. Well, look for yourself, we got into the same team, we went through a real hell together, we survived it only thanks to each other, and it also turned out that only the two of us can free the world from universal evil. Uzumaki expressed chaotic thoughts that were interrupted and confused by Sasuke's touches. It was worth a lot. It is difficult to express the painful, but I was still able to convey the essence of my thoughts. And Sasuke still thought about what Naruto was saying, starting to realize that most likely it is, and they will belong to each other by the will of fate, and then by their own will. No one remembers how they moved to the horizontal position. They just ended up in the same room and in the same bed. They were more concerned about how they reacted to each other. Naruto learned to kiss him so much that one touch made him feel insanely good. From 2 touches, the mind capitulated, and when the tongue also came into play, the Uchiha melted like wax in a fire, experiencing real pleasure, falling headlong into these feelings. He did not expect at all from Uzumaki that this dope could drive him crazy so easily. As in principle, and the fact that it will be so insanely emotional to react to it, Naruto similarly had no idea that Sasuke could be so hot. She was so used to banging her head against his icy wall that sometimes she was ready to give up, but now the other side of the impregnable Uchiha opened up to her, and she liked it. When there wasn't even a hint of clothing left on them, they didn't notice much either. There was a feeling that this is how it should be, and all this is so ordinary and familiar, as if they undress each other for a while as a workout 100 times a day. Sasuke was glad for a moment that the blonde in his arms did not resist, but only helped him pull off his clothes, ready for the consequences of their sudden horizontal position. Naruto was confused for a moment, a short ghostly moment. But when such affectionate and gentle hands covered her bare breasts, she lost all connection with reality, instantly suffocating from the acute pleasure that pierced her whole body with a powerful discharge of current. And everything fell into place again. More precisely, it lay in a horizontal plane. She trusted Uchiha, always believed him, taking his side in all situations. And she allowed him to do whatever he wanted, because a person who can kiss so hotly, hug tightly, looking at her with a look full of adoration, cannot hurt or harm in any way. When Uchiha's hands were below the waist, there was not even a desire to bring her legs together, in an attempt to stop, ashamed not only of the frankness of what was happening, wetly shiny and burning with hellfire, but also frightened of the first intimacy. Naruto was too fearless. As it turned out, even in this regard, Sasuke is insanely greedy, as well as insatiable. The growing moans caress the ear, the girl bends under him, exposing herself to the pleasure that his strong and skillful hands give. The blonde rushes around the bed, crumpling and gathering the already hot sheet under her, then pulls his hair, then digs her nails into the bedclothes, does not know where to put her hands, and grabbing her wrist with her healthy hand, directs her in such a desired direction. Not only should she lie and relax, drowning in bliss, Uchiha growls hollowly when the fragile palm squeezes, presses, slides down, then up. Jinchuriki quickly accepts the rules of the game, getting into the taste, pushing him closer to the abyss, where such a desired satisfaction awaits him. The brunette is harsh and rude, but Naruto does not mind. She also manages to swing her hips, biting her own lips to the blood, then the lips of the brunette only inflaming the passion that has arisen between them. My throat is scratchy and sore from loud, anguished moans. Fingers are tight and hot. Naruto is bleeding in ecstasy, shuddering all over. Sasuke does not even allow her to take a breath, spreading her legs too wide and vulgarly and without any problems, not caring about the feelings of the girl, entering from one jerk to the full length. She did not scream, did not cry, did not clench when Uchiha in his soulless manner took away her innocence. She just froze for a moment, holding her breath, wrapping her legs around the guy's torso, pressing only harder. She is a shinobi or someone to cry here in pain, tearing the lower abdomen. It's been worse, and this is so, almost a mosquito bite. Opening his eyes wide, Sasuke manages to understand that she is uncomfortable only by the clear look of his blue eyes, while he is only more stupid from the wet tightness that tightly encircles his nature. In the depths of the black pupils, he sees echoes of pain and a promise that she will definitely remember him. This is an embarrassment and his pathological egoism will definitely come to an end. Uchiha pushes her harder into the mattress until the springs dig into the woman's back. Her hands slide over the elegant and moist body again, linger on the chest, shamelessly squeezing, again playing with the most sensual areas. And again the crystal blue is darker, tightened by the haze of desire. Naruto again forgets how to breathe, stops fidgeting, trying to reduce the feeling of discomfort to nothing and bring his former friend to a frenzy. Sasuke leans over her, biting into the artificially swollen lips the color of ripe cherries. For the first time in all the time that their relationship lasts, he kisses her gently. And this exorbitant careful caress is more maddening than frank ones that cause only heat in the body. All attention is switched to his lips, to the fact that the soul has become warm and she melts in these soft and unrestrainedly affectionate touches of other people's lips, losing herself again and again. She even ignored the first push, drowning in a kiss. The second and third have already pulled her out of the embrace of a trembling and aching feeling, slowly pushing her into the abyss on the edge of which Uchiha stands. Tenderness with the fifth disappeared without a trace, giving way to frenzied passion, and other people's lips are already kissing the neck, digging into the skin to purple hickeys. With the seventh, she loses count, surrendering to the flow, allowing Sasuke to do what he pleases again, pliably pressing her breasts against the wide chest of the brunette, and then everything merges into something crazy, enchanting. And honestly, she didn't hear her own screams, not the dull growl of Sasuke, when the lower abdomen was cramped from the highest pleasure, and everything inside shrank to the size of an atom, so that then that big explosion happened. She went limp in his arms, trying to even out her breathing, choking on air, because her lungs were burning, and her throat was torn from deep, even breaths. The thin fingers were still digging into his back with their nails. She did not expect that it could be so good from such vulgar intimacy. All this seemed to her to be an exaggerated and outrageously multiplied farce. This manifestation of love caused some kind of disgust, or something. But now Naruto felt on her own skin that everything is not so bad, and books do not lie, sometimes. Could you have been more gentle? The girl grumbles, pushing the Uchiha away from herself. She remembered how he shamelessly took her virginity from her, not caring a bit about her feelings. No, Sasuke answers, squatting on the bed and finally examining the naked body of the former teammate with a more or less sober look. The girl snorts, taking an upright position, getting out of bed and going to the shower to wash off foreign odors and liquids. Uchiha gets up after. In a moment he is next to the girl, and literally pushes her into the bathroom, immediately pressing her against the cold tile wall. Beauty, he licks his dry lips in an instant, feeling the blood rush back to the brain at all. The tanned skin is covered with large goosebumps from the sharp contrast, but most of all the chest attracts attention, and I want to try it with my tongue, which he is in a hurry to do. And discontent never breaks from her mouth, frozen in a lump somewhere in her throat, because someone else's mouth again explores her salty body from sweat, choosing her breasts as an object for tormenting. And Sasuke selflessly kisses the delicate skin, intending to try it now in an upright position. Naruto Uzumaki couldn't even imagine that everything would be so bad. Well, how bad? This concept is relative to Uchiha Sasuke. He just turned out to be very hot, passionate, insatiable and immensely selfish. And as an alpha male, he translated almost any situation into a horizontal plane. Naruto knew perfectly well what intensive training is and what kind of condition happens after them. And she was unspeakably surprised when, after the day off that fell to them in this mission, she would not be able to walk or sit, but only lie and tremble. Sa asked. The girl was whining lying in bed, trying to bring her legs trembling with tension. But the stiff muscles couldn't be controlled. You monster! Well, the blonde could not imagine that when they cross all imaginable and unthinkable boundaries and the Uchiha will have my hands free, then everything will be so, problematic. Weakling. The brunette grins without malice, pulling the girl to him and burying his nose in the golden tangled hair. For the first time in a long time, he struck her down by literally loving her, almost to death. How many times had he tried to kill her? Fingers and toes are not enough to count attempts and promises, but nothing came out of the prodigal avenger. And now, when everything was more than fine with them, she was lying in his strong arms, gasping for breath, clutching at her heart, which was ready to stop from pleasure, and her muscles could barely withstand such a frantic pace. Hell, she's a shinobi, hardened by war, there's not much that can scare her. And training? No matter how difficult they were, she hadn't been bent like that for a long time from fatigue and tension. And Sasuke. This lustful Uchiha brought her down from heaven to earth, and even lower, showing that she was not so hardy. Fuck you. I don't even have the strength to object and argue. Naruto moans softly, trying to bend and straighten his legs, but feels only a long-forgotten pain in his muscles, and Uchiha smirks smugly. Shall we repeat it? The hand from her waist dropped to her hip, gently stroking the skin of the inside. The brunette does not stop smiling, feeling how sharply the blonde tensed and tried to free herself from the captivity of his embrace. Uzumaki abruptly raised his own self-esteem and sense of dignity to unprecedented heights. Get away from me, Uchiha. The body obeyed badly, but the voice was in place, and no matter how she tore it off, it still remained loud. And her raised tone made my ears ring. Damn egoist. Have you thought about me? The girl jumped up, fluttering helplessly in strong muscular arms. Great training, Uchiha is frankly fun and he shows Naruto this, but she doesn't care about the manifestation of his feelings. She tries to escape from an overly loving shinobi. I've seen such training in my coffin. Dadabayo. Uzumaki protests, falling out of the narrow bed, freeing himself and ignoring the smirk of the brunette. Sasuke is almost glowing with overflowing self-satisfaction. A fucking narcissist. The girl hurries to crawl away towards the bathroom. My legs still wouldn't obey me, and my muscles were trembling. Well, she didn't think, agreeing to intimacy with Sasuke, that everything would be like this. Yes, it is better for her to share a meal with toads for a month on Mount Myaboku than to arrange marathons like this, when her body, although in a very pleasant way, is tortured so that for the first time in all time, fatigue at least makes you want to die. You'll get used to it soon. Uchiha gets out of bed and catches up with the girl in 2 wide steps, picks her up and puts her on the bed. Yes, don't twitch like that, Dobe, I'm tired too. He stops trying to resist. Whatever one may say, but he is also a man, not particularly omnipotent. He also needs rest, and the desire that has not subsided yet, he will have time to satisfy more than once. After all, Naruto Uzumaki is now his. Uzumaki breathes heavily and furiously, flashing orange eyes with a vertical pupil and gushing with golden orange Kyubi chakra and a desire to pulverize him because of the universal size of the offense. She was deeply offended. Uchiha grins angrily, declaring her body purple Susanoo and waits for the next attack, tensely frozen. I didn't expect her to lose her temper so easily. Even before this was not the case, and then immediately to drastic measures. Both understand that they categorically do not know how to solve problems peacefully, as evidenced by the modified wasteland. They have corrected the landscape here significantly. Naruto, stop it, Sasuke orders rudely and loudly, realizing that if this continues, they will not leave a stone unturned here. At best, at worst, Senju will have to grow new prostheses for them, unless of course they survive without Sakura's help after their final techniques. You didn't like my soup. He ignores and recalls the reason for the dispute, clenching his fists and grinning. How it hurts her. Right up to the aching feeling in my heart and angry tears in my eyes. Have you tried it yourself? You know, it looks like you tried to poison me, the Uchiha concludes indifferently, telling the truth and only the truth, as always rudely, not being afraid of her friend's anger. You can't scare him like that. Naruto is even more angry, but he is silent. Apparently, she really has not tried, but she is in no hurry to change her anger, admitting her mistake. I also came up with something to feed him without even trying. I would have tried, this did not happen. See, you haven't even tried, and now you won't try. Sasuke is still pulling boiled vegetables and herbs out of his hair. The girl, boiling in a matter of seconds, took and turned the whole pot of this poison on his head, mistakenly called soup. You offended me. She crossed her arms and pouted resentfully, continuing to sulk at the last of the uchi, but still slowly cooling down. With what? The brunette sincerely does not understand. How many times he offended her, the reaction was different, exclusively verbal diarrhea and funny promises to stuff his face to the point of colic. You mean you're hurt that I didn't poison myself with your concoction? Idiot. He snorts and turns away, but the golden veil of the Biju regime melts. It cools down. I could have said mildly that it was tasteless, but you immediately. Poison, poison. The blonde is sulking, turning away from Sasuke to hide the angry tears of resentment. It was the first time he had hurt her so much. The rough assessment of her culinary abilities cut right to the quick, and everything inside was painfully compressed from this damn offense. Look at yourself, try to kill me because of some soup. Uchiha removes the cover of Susanoo and deactivates the Sharingan, approaching an angry friend, gently touching her shoulder, deep inside fearing that the girl will flare up again and have to fight with her again, or defiantly shakes off his hand, starting to ignore. In fact, if she starts ignoring him, he will go crazy, so it's good that she didn't think of it, otherwise it would be lousy at times. I cooked it for you. And you're an idiot. No, to put it mildly, he exclaims, and his voice shakes suspiciously. There is tension in her pose, but she does not drop her hands, allowing herself to be touched. Let's not cook anymore, Sasuke honestly asks, remembering the slop taste of Naruto's soup, which immediately corroded his mask of unshakable calm. For a long time, Uchiha spat, feeling sick, and his face was probably green. It was this that allowed the girl to pour out all the contents of the pot on him imperceptibly out of anger, and then immediately enter combat mode to rip off her offense on him. I tried, with all my love for you, I cooked. Puts pressure on Sasuke's guilt, suspecting the presence of such a curiosity in the soul of the Avenger. Successfully presses, because from this phrase Sasuke twitches, she feels his hand trembling, resting on her shoulder. Hit the bullseye. Uchiha is stunned worse than her final Rasengan at that ill-fated moment of their duel. These words dig right into the heart, piercing it through with an arrow, knocking out all the oxygen from the lungs for a moment, forcing them to suffocate. Accurate, striking on the spot, a blow for him. Does Naruto love him? He understood her words correctly, but he is in no hurry to ask. I wanted to please you, the offense begins to slowly recede. This pompous and arrogant egoist does not know how to be tolerant and polite with her. It has always been so. It was stupid, especially true. The soup didn't smell very good, but it was passable. She just hoped that it was delicious, but she didn't dare try it herself, admitting in advance her hopelessness in cooking. You're right, he was terrible. He backs down and stops pretending to be a deeply offended and offended girl. Relaxes, remembering that if they kiss and sleep together, it does not mean that he will behave differently towards her. No, a lot has changed, but something in Uchiha will never change, for example, his bastardism. With love is spinning in the brain of the black-eyed man, and it became so warm and light in his soul, and this reservation does not frighten him a bit by what is hidden behind it. Only warms and pleases. She tried for him, with love. As always, whether he liked it or not, she just stubbornly tried to make him feel good, even if it was deadly dangerous. That's the whole Naruto thing. Don't make me so happy, or you'll make me happy to a fatal attack, Sasuke thaws, and his lips spread out in a smile by themselves. Hugs tightly, burying his nose in golden curls. It's better to just be around and do what you usually do, no experiments are necessary. Sasuke asks, very gently, afraid to offend the girl again, but feeling the thin arms hugged him in response, he relaxed, realizing that the conflict was over. Good, the blue-eyed woman agrees, closing her eyes wearily. Their first scandal had exhausted her, and now she wanted to fall asleep in a warm and dear embrace, and she was happy that she didn't have to go out of her way to please Sasuke. He was satisfied with everything anyway. And their scandals can really be dangerous not only for others, but also for themselves. To whom I said, step aside. Evil is seeping through Naruto's teeth, trying to incinerate the Uchiha with a look, to no avail. He just curls his lips in a contemptuous smile. That's always how she is, trying to be ahead of him, to seem better and stronger. She is bursting with feelings, as always, and rushes headlong into battle, because they hurt her dignity and tried to kill her. You fool, Sasuke boils, slowly and systematically. This stubborn girl decided to protect him, although she was attacked, and all his attempts to protect her were sent far and for a long time on foot erotic. He could not have imagined that she could speak so dirty. The enemy stood aside, somewhat effaced. They have been trying for 5 minutes to decide who will attack him in an attempt to kill him. Fortunately, the tonality was lowered, or not good. Now you can't hear what they're talking about. It seems that this is the first time when enemy shinobi during a fight got carried away with a quarrel with each other, trying to decide who would attack him, forgetting that a deadly threat was breathing down their backs. I'm on my own. Pushes the formidable and insanely gloomy former Avenger aside, not paying attention to the fact that a complex pattern of Mangyoke Sharingan flamed in his eye. Probably, only she can push him aside so easily, exuding the very equanimity when Sasuke just oozes a black and sharp threat. Stand aside, grabs by the shoulder and pulls back, trying to shield her with himself. The enemy ninja, who is not much inferior in strength to Kage, fatally grits his teeth, and immediately puts seals to attack, but Sasuke is purple. He has on his agenda the taming of a stubborn girl, who just wants to scratch her fists recklessly about something. He took his hand away. He tries to burn Kurama's chakra, but the Uchiha's hand was immediately covered with a cover of Susanoo. The attempt failed. And not just her. The cover protected them from enemy attack. He didn't even turn his head. The attacker notices when his attack bounced off the strange purple cover like peas against the wall. Step back. He worries about this fool, in his own way, imperceptibly and secretly, somewhat rudely and unprincipled, because she always goes ahead. She can put herself under attack to win, and the guy is not satisfied with that. He has not been satisfied at all lately that she may be wounded in battle. And in general, to get into this very fight. He knows her style, as uncouth and reckless as she is. Don't piss me off, Uchiha, he grins like a wild beast, baring his fangs, but the act of intimidation fails. Sasuke is not scared by this, and the blonde clenches her fists, trying to suppress a wave of rage. It's Sasuke after all. Whatever she does, it will be to no avail. Well, if you just try to tear off some limb, maybe it will have an effect. But then the surrounding neighborhood will change the landscape, and that arrogant type will be wiped out. Honestly, she doesn't care. It serves him right, but the forest and the villages on its edge have nothing to do with it. Well, the animals are in this very forest, and then they blew the Valley of Completion almost to dust. Hey, the enemy tries to attract the attention of the arguing shinobi, but to no avail. Any attack is reflected without looking, then with a purple cover, then with a golden one. In principle, they have already forgotten about him. Don't make me angry, Uzumaki, but his wave of ki is not inferior to her own. None of them even raises an eyebrow when the enemy froze, shuddered, and involuntarily took a step back under the onslaught of a powerful wave of a heavy frightening aura. Sandpaper drove through the nerves. You know I'm recovering fast, so stay out of it. Boasts of its rapid regeneration. The golden-haired woman tries to pull the man's hand off her shoulder, but Sasuke only bites into the bony shoulder until it bruises. I don't want you to get hurt. He acts differently, speaks more gently, and in his eyes the desire to protect him. His guesses were confirmed. This is somewhat funny, in principle, and she should be amused by the attempt not to let her into battle. They both confronted the most deadly creature on the whole earth and survived to then try to kill each other. Sasuke clenches his teeth, looks at her somewhat startled, and inside the warmth spreads like a sweet, viscous molasses, so only she can just stand aside, and he can't say that he's worried, that he's afraid that she might get hurt, that she'll be hurt. There is not enough fortitude. He had always been weak in spirit and it was hard to admit his weaknesses even to himself, not like her. And Naruto has become his weakness. No, it has always been his weak spot, just now the circumstances are different. It remains to be hoped that her brain sometimes work and she will understand his desires and aspirations, as she always understood, at the level of the heart and intuition that, I'll figure it out myself. The enemy is angry on the sidelines, puffing and coming up with something to attract attention, offended by the fact that they forgot about him. But I chokes on the unspoken words stuck in his throat. The girl closes her eyes, thinks about something for 10 whole seconds, frowns, and then still lifts the corners of her lips in a ghost smile. Okay, gives up. When she does get a chance to be the girl they are so zealously trying to protect, she knows, or wants to think so. After all, this is an attempt to protect, and not to measure strength, who is cooler. He feels it in his heart. Uchiha looks just as emotionless and cold, there is no shadow of emotion on her face. How quickly he pulled himself together and put on his favorite mask of a cold-blooded bastard. Sasuke let go of her shoulder, and turned his back to her, facing the enemy. Naruto relaxed, but not completely. You never know. The enemy swallowed nervously, because the evil Uchiha, seeking to protect what is dear to him, is still a shock that his knees are already shaking. The death of the enemy shinobi was long and painful, because there was nothing to attack Naruto surreptitiously, and poke her in the ribs with all sorts of pieces of iron almost to the hilt. Sasuke didn't like it very much, 100 times more than Naruto herself. He knows that the fox will not offend her, but he should not be written off either. They returned to the village ahead of schedule and did not care at all about how they would fend off curious friends and comrades who stared at them with bulging eyes, burning their intertwined fingers with curious glances. And Sasuke and Naruto casually cut through the village, not hurrying anywhere, holding hands. And it was already on the machine. For 3 weeks of their relationship, all this became commonplace for them, and they did not try to hide something. Yes, they just didn't think what a furor the fact of their relationship could cause. Sasuke and Naruto absolutely did not think through this moment, and they had to face awesome people, half of whom had their jaws falling off, but it was too late to shy away from each other with faces full of dislike for each other. So late that they were already clasping each other's hands in an encouraging gesture. And immediately Konoha shuddered from the powerful flow of rumors about the relationship between the former criminal and the heroine of the war. And by the evening, this news was overgrown with such a pile of fictional details that even Hitaki's hair stood on end. After the residence and the submission of the report to Hitaki Kakashi, and now the 6th Hokage, who took the post of head of the village, while they wandered around the countries, erasing loopholes for the revival of Kaguya from the face of the earth, they dryly said goodbye to each other and went to different sides, as if they had not just walked through Konoha by the handle. Radiating a persistent aura misunderstandings, as always mowed down like a fool, in the case of Naruto, and don't care, in the case of Sasuke, which is also very typical for a representative of the Uchiha clan. Naruto didn't have time to get out of the shower, changing into her favorite orange tracksuit, as the door shuddered from a knock. And a moment later, without waiting for permission, the knocker brazenly stumbled into Uzumaki's one-room small apartment. And the blonde was glad that her door was not damaged, and judging by those who entered, there was a chance that she could have been kicked to hell by Madarin, and now the walls were already shaking, because her numerous and excellent friends, led by Sakura and Ino, fell into the doorway. The first one had a package rustling in her hands like a glass chime. Haruno still gained experience from Tsunade not only in terms of medicine, but also bad habits. Tell me. Yamanaka jumped up on the spot, and Naruto stared at all this motley crowd with the look of a hunted hare, shuddered nervously. The rumors spread too quickly, and the closest friends were already fully armed and came to her uninvited, poking their curious noses into her affairs of the heart. It was alien to Uzumaki, but it was not possible to expel these harpies. Firstly, whatever one may say, she loved and respected them, and secondly, it would not be Naruto's apartment that would shudder, but Konoha as a whole. The heroine is a heroine, and coping with a crowd of determined friends is a task worse than a fight with Madara. You and Sasuke, it's awesome. Sakura took off her shoes. Naruto would have been outraged, but it didn't help. They would still have broken into her cozy apartment and gutted her soul at least. How long ago? Temari was already in charge of the kitchen, unpacking takeout food from the cafe. And Naruto was quietly and peacefully freaking out, choking with indignation. Silently, which is atypical. This is so unexpected, Hinata approached the blonde, handing her a bag of ichiraku with her favorite ramen. Naruto froze, smelling her favorite smell, and gratefully looked at her, not even suspecting that this was a payoff from her abuse, which was late in all articles. Have you already? Tenten significantly played with her eyebrows, and Hyuga immediately blushed like a tomato, and Naruto echoed her, answering the question with her embarrassment. Sasuke howled Karen, who was dragged here by force, saying that a relative should be congratulated, and no one cared that this Uzumaki was going crazy for an unapproachable brunette. Save me. The blue-eyed woman whispered under her nose, fatally circling the apartment with a hunted look. Chaos was added to the already reigning disorder here. Relax. Sakura slipped her a glass with a clear liquid. And Naruto, without looking, gulped down the liquid in 3 big gulps, belatedly noticing the cunning devils dancing in the depths of the green eyes, as well as the strange burning taste of water. Not water, are you kidding me? The girl coughed from the fire, tearing her throat, throwing out the cup and grabbing her throat, burning from the inside. Booze? Yes, she has never taken a drop of sake in her mouth in her life. There was no time while I was saving the world. And also a look full of sincere misunderstanding from where so much interest in her personal life floated. Alcohol on an empty stomach acted quickly, and she looked at the world with a cloudy look and more relaxed. Sakura grunted with satisfaction. In these couple of hours, this news has become overgrown with such details. Ino helped Sandy to lay out a snack. We want to know the truth firsthand. Tenten and Hinata picked up the landlady of the apartment under the white hands, while she was intoxicated, continuing to stand like a pillar in the middle of the apartment, sat her down at the table and it started. Then Naruto, getting drunk more and more, realized that good friends are cool. These beasts opened her eyes to a lot of things, shared their personal experience, and when the degree of alcohol reached a critical point, she gave everything in spirit, under the dazed looks of her friends, the blushing cheeks of Hinata, the satisfied smile of Tenten and the envious howl of Karen. Well, in the end, after listening again to Hinata's blushing cheeks, and Karen's doomed hiccup, some intimate details of the personal life of some girls, and in principle, after listening to a lecture about sexual life, some were deep inside suspecting that she had just been retold Kakashi's favorite novel, she ran away from this impromptu bachelorette party straight to Uchiha, check-in practice some tips and practices. And I missed the unapproachable and cold Uchiha, who in fact turned out to be not such an asshole. She was used to waking up almost every day at his side, and 24/7 to dissect with him in different cities and villages, that he was sorely missed nearby. And with the fact that her entire apartment was occupied by her friends who were drunk to death, she decided that it would be better to spend the night at Sasuke's. It is pleasant and useful, and I also wonder if he will like it or not. And while drunk, she has so much courage that she would have boldly sealed a 10-piece kagyu without blinking an eye. Naruto has never been so bad. At the moment she didn't feel any different. No, maybe it was, there during the war, or after some deadly battle, and exhausting training. But it was bad in a different way. The body didn't hurt, but the head, it was as if they were trying to split it into pieces with a hammer. And in my mouth there was a feeling of the ferocious and ruthless desert of the Suna, in which at least all the conscripted Ninken Kakashi-sensei shat at once. I wanted to drink godlessly, and to brush my teeth terribly. Her throat was sore and itchy, either she was screaming at the top of her lungs, or she earned herself a tearing cough for a short period of time, from which the muscles of the peritoneum cramps and the throat mercilessly tears. Among other things, I was thirsty, and there was a vacuum emptiness in my stomach, which made me feel strangely sick. At the same time, I wanted to eat, but when I think about food, my stomach immediately begins to cramp in a fit of nausea, and this very emptiness rolled up to my throat with an unpleasant lump. The events of yesterday were blurred, and there was a feeling that they were trying to erase them, but they were not completely erased, but a thin, unclear layer was smeared on the brains. Naruto lay there for a while and tried to figure out what had happened to make her feel so bad. Something, no, more likely someone, has been brought near. The blonde, with grief, opened her eyes in half and slowly turned her head, trying to see who was next to her. Where did she go last night? It seems to have been at home, and then everything blurred. Are you awake, Dobe? Uchiha's voice cuts the ear with sandpaper. He's definitely having fun. Naruto winces, and tries to remember how she ended up next to Sasuke, well, or how he ended up next to her. Here, something heavy and cool was put into the hand. Water, warning the question. Caring asshole, Naruto gratefully tries to smile, but he comes out exhausted, and somehow sitting down, opens the bottle cap for some reason with shaking hands, and then greedily takes a sip of water, and drinks in big greedy gulps that most of the water simply flows from his mouth, dripping onto a t-shirt. Sasuke somehow smiles suspiciously maliciously, and his eyes are so oily, and the devils are dancing there, suspiciously cheerful and perky. In general, he looks like a cat who stole a piece of marble beef from the table. What's wrong with me? The girl croaked, having drunk more than half of the offered bottled hangover. You drank too much yesterday. You seem to have had a bachelorette party. Sasuke recalls her chatter about the girls who flooded her with questions about their relationship, how they slipped her alcohol and got her drunk to such an extent that the tongue was loosened from Antu, what they were talking about and why she fell into his apartment in the middle of the night, because after listening enough their stories, I decided to repeat. Honestly, he stopped her as best he could, but the drunk Uzumaki Uchiha turned out to be too tough. Did I drink too much? But Kurama. And immediately received a snide answer that it was a lesson for her edification, that alcohol is a bad thing and it is not worth abusing it, otherwise it will be such a bad condition. A harmful, vile fox, she covered her face with her hands, sighing heavily. But the memory of last night and night was not restored by this knowledge. Why am I here? You missed me, that's why you fell in the middle of the night. Sasuke's lips involuntarily blurred into a satisfied grin, and the memories made goosebumps run and the lower abdomen twitched sweetly. Naruto surprised him yesterday, so surprised. Truly unpredictable. What have I done to make you smile like that? An unpleasant feeling arose inside that she had done something yesterday that was very strange even for her, and she certainly couldn't have done it in her right mind. Are you sure you want to know? The guy asked why Naruto was confused all over. She nodded reluctantly, and prepared to hear what happened, but Uchiha acted differently, deciding to show, and flashing a red-black look, pulled her into an illusion, where he projected his own memories from the side. Uzumaki's stomach did a somersault when she was pulled into an illusion, and the world spun around in an instant, and the headache pressed on her temples and the back of her head again. This made Sasuke grab his elbow with a death grip, even though they were still sitting on his bed. At first it was even kind of funny and not quite ashamed, until the moment with the penetration into his apartment ended. But every minute she felt her face rapidly flooded with red paint, and her cheeks burned as if she had at least a burning red pepper in her blood. She was especially ashamed of the moment of seduction of Sasuke, clumsy, assertive, not brooking objections. She almost raped him. And what did she say to him? And it's right that I didn't want to remember. Her tricks and cues are worthy of Uchiha, it is worth admitting, did not fall for her sweet speeches promising heavenly pleasure with a slurred tongue. And if she hadn't pressed him against the wall, suppressing all his protests, in such a state, he would have resisted further, but she was so convincing and stubborn that even Sasuke gave up. And he just silently enjoyed it when she brazenly pulled off his pants with underwear and sat down on her knees with a vulgar smile. At this point, she chose to turn away and hide her crimson face with her hands. She had never been so ashamed, but this was not the limit. Because I wanted to forget everything that followed like a terrible dream. It was much more humiliating that a desire to sink through the ground broke out. After a pleasant night for her boyfriend, almost immediately, she began to vomit. Drunk and eaten begged to come out. And Sasuke, despite the fact that he was twisted and embarrassed, held her hair, and carefully stroked her back until she let go, and the contents of her stomach went into the sewer, and after that, her almost unconscious, pale green carcass was put under a cool shower, rinsed, wiped, and put on a t-shirt with a Mon Uchiha, put to bed. Kami-sama, how caring he is. Already my heart squeezed sweetly, and a dreamy smile on my lips. But then abruptly my thoughts focused back on her shamed Kami-sama, kill me, Databeo. I couldn't shrink to the size of an atom, but I wanted to. She had never been so ashamed in front of Sasuke. Yes, she was like the last pig, shall we repeat it? Only without alcohol, please, Uchiha grinned, as always amused by her condition. That was what he was all about. Aaaaa. Naruto called out when the illusion ended. But it became much easier, because Sasuke, although he made fun of her in his favorite manner, but not so much that it hurt her self-esteem critically. And he didn't look at her as if she was some kind of garbage, because the blonde almost ruined his entire bathroom with the contents of his stomach. Shut up, for God's sake. Shut up. She blushed again, so much so that any tomato will get jealous. And then she rushed to run until she burned with shame. It was too much. Stay with me, I think we'll take your things today, otherwise I've had enough of your reckless actions. Sasuke grabbed her, hugging her to him. And meet less with your friends, otherwise you'll pick up everything. No, the fact that they revealed aspects of other intimacy to her, he will say thank you for that, but he didn't have enough for Naruto to pick up anything unnecessary from them, for example, the craving for alcohol from Sakura, the bitchiness and makings of a commander from Temari, the habit of openly dressing from Ino. Uzumaki was taken aback and forgot that she was shamefully fleeing from her own shame and embarrassment. She stared unblinkingly at the brunette, looking for signs that this was a joke. But he was as serious as ever. It seems that everything is very serious with them. Really, really serious. Uchiha brings into the dark wilds of reflections, rushing from how his life has changed and the living space has been transformed, to what will happen next and where their relationship will lead. Sasuke always believed that there were too many Uzumaki, but this simple truth turned out to be a delusion. A big mistake, very, very big, even more than his ego and narcissism combined. Naruto in his life became outrageously much at the very moment when he took her to himself, and it was quite possible to get tired of it. Tired of the fact that every damn millimeter of his apartment was filled with an obnoxious blonde, just like his life. He wasn't complaining, just, oh shit. It's boiling. Goldilocks was everywhere, and always with him. And if she was hundreds of kilometers away from him on a long mission, it was almost not felt. After the third general cleaning, he realized that, in principle, he would never get rid of long blonde hair forever. Even if they get so carried away with a quarrel with each other and Sasuke burns down this apartment to hell, her faded hair will still remain on the ashes. They were everywhere. In his bed, in the sink, on the floor, in the carpet, in the shower drain, in the closet, sometimes in food. At home, food was prepared with rare exceptions and by the hand of the Uchiha himself. It was as if she diligently and methodically, in his absence, combed her curls, and pushed the remaining hair on the comb into all sorts of places and crevices, so that later he would not get bored and remember her. And what difference does it make if a bad word? But I remembered, Uchiha took it upon himself to comb her long golden hair. And every morning and evening he picked up her comb and combed the soft strands himself. The result was obvious. The amount of hair in his apartment decreased, and Naruto after the procedure became so soft, gentle and affectionate, and cajoled him, drowning in her own feelings, which she skillfully and subtly transmitted through touches and kisses. Sasuke was already drowning with her in the pool of her feelings. It was the same with ramen. At first, he was everywhere. The whole kitchen was packed with them until Uchiha freaked out and burned this stuff with a cat under the upset and tearful look of a friend. For a minute before, she was safely laughing loudly, and her laughter could not be called iridescent, like the chiming of bells, because this was a wild cackle to tears, more like the neighing of a horse with mocking notes. Maybe he made the decision to burn ramen because she was laughing at him not in her best manner? The fact was that after opening one of the drawers in the kitchen, a bunch of these rustling packages fell out on him, catching the great and mighty Uchiha by surprise. It wasn't fatal, but it really pissed me off, while Naruto was having fun. The girl was clearly trying to cram in the uninspired, and it worked out for her, before the first attempt to open the drawer. And then, after, he called this blasphemous act of justice over ramen an act of caring for her health. He failed to discourage Naruto from instant noodles. Under threats, scandals, surprisingly, the apartment remained intact, persuasions, attempts to come to a compromise, she still ate this damn smelly custard ramen. Secretly from him, after the demonstrative burning of it, she made stashes in his apartment, which he could not find for a long time. And I still had no idea where this fox hid most of the strategic stock of this stuff. The conclusion was obvious: this infection knew his house better than he did. And when did you have time? And in the end, his apartment turned into their apartment. The realization hit like an avalanche, quickly and irreversibly. Naruto quickly brought a bit of turmoil to his quiet abode on the verge of full-fledged chaos. And pushed most of his things, and himself, in principle, although she didn't have many things, but, magically, they took up most of the space and they became cramped in this room together. Sasuke was not against all this, although, sometimes, longing took over, for the bachelor past. At this moment, a chill ran through him sharply, and his soul and heart were covered with a crust of ice. In contrast to this chilling feeling, reminiscent of a dank and ruinous, but relatively calm and quiet, loneliness, the guy remembered that now he was not alone, and a man lived next to him who, no matter what, pulled him out of any ass, spitting on his own pride, and feelings in general. He was ready to endure new orders and drastic changes for the sake of the warming presence of his sunny blonde, and he covered his eyes for all the above nuances, for the time being, until Uzumaki, in his direct childish manner, brought him to another fit of rage, forcing him to spit Kato to the right and to the left, and the crazy thought began to visit my head that it was time to change the living space, and preferably as soon as possible. To make the house large, roomy, and strong is the most important thing, as is its location, away from the densely populated neighborhoods of the growing Konoha. This is where they hold back, and scandals do not go beyond verbal battles, but still. And yet, if you look into the distant future, is it too serious for them, so serious that one day they will have children? Uchiha shuddered and twisted. He decided that he needed to be more careful. Children are too much. Naruto is also enough for him, who herself, sometimes, is like a child, although he would like to revive his clan, but not with Uzumaki, or with her. No, she's a terrible wife and housewife, and she's also too ambitious, with her dreams and aspirations. Which one of them is a family when they are so different? And Naruto can be just a serious and sick hobby that will dissipate after oversaturation. Uchiha was not sure that everything would go so far with them. But lately, apart from Naruto, he had not seen anyone near him, and could not imagine. And the character of Goldilocks did not bother him at all and did not frighten him, like her strength and power, and it was mutual. Smacks of an ideal, definitely. It's worth thinking about their future properly, otherwise Naruto will fill his days forever and ever, cutting off most of his nerves, and it's worth considering whether he's ready to put up with her all his life. But this is a completely different story. Sasuke growls angrily when Uzumaki dodges his attempt to kiss her. This has been going on for several days. And the frank manifestation of his feelings can be considered the highest level of his emotionality. Uchiha is so enraged that his blood is boiling. Indignation and anger cover him with his head, and a veil of rage covers his eyes. Naruto drove him. What the hell? A question full of desperate anger digs into the girl's shoulder blades exactly a second before his hands grab her shoulders and the guy slams her into the wall with all his stupidity, not caring that she might be hurt. What? Naruto cringes under the gaze of the Uchiha's eyes, reasonably realizing that she deserved it, but continues to build an innocent fool, flapping her eyelashes and trying to express complete misunderstanding and surprise at your detachment. He looms over her menacingly, intending to pull out of her all the details of her behavior that concern him. You've been avoiding me for a week. What have I done that you're doing this? Sasuke freezes without her warmth, goes wild without her affection, goes crazy from the loneliness into which she plunges him. Even being near, Naruto bit her lip and looks away guiltily, not even resisting, not trying to get out of the captivity of his hands. This is the first time in a week that he is closer to her than at arm's length. All this time she carefully and nimbly dodged him, showing almost pirouettes of balancing and running away, almost headlong. What's the matter? He talks threateningly through his teeth and enters the wall with all the dope. He must vent his anger momentarily, otherwise he will tear it off on her. Her silence depresses and hurts, and I want to plunge her into this very alloy of negativity, show her, poke her nose, which is more than unpleasant for him. Naruto doesn't know what to say. On the one hand, she is ashamed to talk about it, and on the other, there are no words to briefly explain the reason for her behavior. She is silent, as if she has filled her mouth with water, looks over his shoulder, avoiding the scarlet Sharingan, and the feeling of guilt eats from the inside. Speak, he orders, and his voice is colder and sharper than steel. It hurts my ears. Our relationship is incest, Uzumaki blurted out in one breath, finally shifting her gaze to his face distorted with anger. Naruto looks at him with all his eyes, noticing how he frowns, trying to comprehend what he has heard. What? Sasuke is dumbfounded, and even more than that. Well, we are not only kindred spirits, but also distant relatives, continues to broadcast what she has been thinking about for so long, tormented by the fact that their relationship from the point of view of genetics is immoral. It had been bothering her for a week now, and the more she thought about it, the more convinced she was that it was wrong. Incest? He doesn't believe it. Her thoughts are deafening and striking on the spot with their stupidity. Uchiha does not know whether to get angry further or laugh, because almost hysterical laughter is already bursting out of his chest. Well, Indra and Ashura are our direct ancestors, brothers, and the founders of our clans. Naruto furiously begins to defend his theory, fueled by facts and a family tree, which she unearthed in the archive, having studied properly. Dobe. Uchiha pulls away, bending in half in a fit of laughter. That's how it gives. He's like that himself. Jinchuriki sulks resentfully. I assumed, after all, that if she told him what was tormenting her, she would immediately be ridiculed. And in her own truth, she drowned so much that she almost believed that it was wrong and unpleasant, so she avoided contact with him. Come here, stupid. Sasuke, not without an effort of will, pulls his usual mask of composure on his face, swallowing a fit of laughter, and pulls an angry Naruto to him. Of the two of us, I should be offended, notes Uchiha, hugging the blonde tightly. But we are, the girl grumbles resignedly, not hurrying to hug him. But it's worth admitting that it was hard for her to ignore his wishes. Calm down, we are not direct relatives, and it was so long ago that it is unlikely that we are genetically related. Buries his nose in the golden crown and deeply inhales its fragrance. And don't forget that Hyuga, in order not to dilute the blood with alien shinobi while maintaining their dojutsu, will marry within the clan, and rarely happens differently. Exactly. It dawned on her and she smiled, squeezing into Sasuke, hugging him until his ribs crunch. She hadn't even thought about Hyuga at all. What a fool you are, after all, she says affectionately, almost tenderly, coming to terms with the fact that she has a mess in her head. Uchiha pulls away from her for half a step to bend down and finally kiss her, before some other nonsense comes into her head. It was necessary to ignore him for a whole week in order to get into their brains that they were related. Well, yes, it's Naruto. What did he expect from her? Uchiha Sasuke has never felt so stupid, and so stupid that this feeling exceeded the combined egoism, vanity, and arrogance. And this, if we omit the comprehensive sense of shame and humiliation that he had just experienced, and, moreover, for the entire deceased Uchi clan as a whole. He even felt Madara turn over in his coffin when one very small, but, damn it, important detail about Sharingan was revealed. Or briefly about what the experiments of one Naruto Uzumaki can lead to. And everything, as always, started with her stupid ideas. Ask, Naruto sang affectionately, suddenly distracted from combing her hair after a shower, and pressing harder against the side of the aforementioned, looking into his eyes. Squinting at her, the guy realized that Naruto had started some kind of stupidity. And judging by the demons sparkling in her eyes with a bright flame, it's stupidity of a large-scale caliber. Therefore, the decision to ignore her was made with lightning speed. Sharingans can smell it, it won't end well. You know, I've been thinking, Jinchuriki began from afar, to which she immediately received an instant response with a piercing skeptical look. Naruto immediately pouted resentfully, interpreting this look as, "It's bad for you to think. Hey, you didn't even listen to me, and you're already looking like I'm some kind of dumbass." The blonde got bored, painfully poking the last of the Uchiha in the ribs, forcing him to twitch from a tangible and unpleasant poke. "Okay, I'm all in attention." Uchiha put down his book, turned his head to her and looked attentively into the eyes burning with enthusiasm. This was one of the downsides of their relationship. He could not dynamite her with the same inveterate constancy as in the old days, and insult / humiliate / mock, since Naruto would take offense at him and ignore him in retaliation, well, or it would end with the usual bruising, and again complete ignoring of his person. And for some time now he could not tolerate her silent presence and very clever attempts to avoid any contact with him. Being dependent on her attention made him vulnerable and sad. Look, even Uchiha can be trapped in the Sharingan of another Uchiha. Naruto fidgeted next to him in impatience, and could barely speak coherently. She was consumed by curiosity and interest, along with a desire to check some guesses. Sasuke nodded, completely not understanding what she was driving at, and in general, how her brain works in principle. That I was sitting peaceful and relaxed after a shower, combing my hair after a shower, humming something to myself and pressing into his side, and then suddenly I bumped into him with questions about Sharingan, barely sitting on the couch from her overflowing curiosity. No, the fact that she often goes from extreme to extreme did not surprise him, but the topic of conversation was so slightly annoying. And what will happen to Uchiha if he looks into the reflection of his own Sharingan while performing jutsu, for example, Tsukiyomi? She looked at him with such hope, as if he was a walking encyclopedia and owned all the sacred secrets of the universe at least and would definitely answer her question. Uchiha's eyebrows slowly crept up in surprise. And how did she even come up with such a thing? Although, yes, it's Naruto. The stone mask of an impenetrable shinobi was again on his face. He should have been prepared in advance for hundreds of thousands of such stupid questions, and they should not surprise him. But still, his life did not prepare him for everything. "I don't know, and I don't want to know," he said coldly, losing interest in the conversation, perfectly feeling Naruto's dissatisfaction with his answer. "And I want to know," Naruto insisted, and her eyes flashed even brighter. "Let's see what happens." "Well, at most, you will fall into your own illusion, and at least, I will remain a fool." Her lips stretched into a wide smile, and her eyes looked with hope and pleading. "No," categorical and prickly, forcing Uzumaki to snatch the book from his hands, behind which he naively hid from her enthusiasm. In the blink of an eye, she was sitting on his lap, cupping his face with her hands so that he would not turn away and look exclusively at her, as if she was going to hypnotize. "Please, what does it cost you? Immerse yourself in a light illusion, I'll get you out of it quickly," the girl begged, fidgeting on his hips, playing on his nerves. "Pf, the last of the Uchi said with displeasure, resisting the girl's persuasions. "Well, Naruto thought about it, biting her lip, so that this could be offered to Sasuke, so that he would agree to pull off a small experiment." "You won't make it," Sasuke said smugly. He is even willing to tolerate ignoring on her part, just not to do such stupid things. The very idea of testing this idiotic guess in action made me feel like a cretin. Well, Uzumaki couldn't think of anything sensible until her own memory threw her a case from the recent past. The girl instantly blushed, becoming redder than a tomato. "Let me do." She could not pronounce a condition that could push Sasuke to fulfill her request. Her tongue seemed to be taken away, and her cheeks began to burn several times stronger. Sasuke, seeing her reaction, blinked, again concentrating all his attention on her crimson face and frightened look, allowing himself to show a drop of curiosity. Naruto quickly moved on to bidding, passing by blackmailed. "This is..." "Well, the same." "Well," the girl bit her lips in confusion, taking her hands away from his face and nervously pulling the ends of her hair, constantly looking away. I can't say it, Databeo, the blonde roared in despair, melting from her own embarrassment. The same thing? He didn't understand her at all. Neither her incoherent speech, nor the reason why she is so red. When? Well, on my knees, well, it's PP after the bachelorette party. Naruto hid her face with her palms, looking at him uncertainly through a small crack between her fingers. One memory made her sink into the ground with shame, let alone say it out loud, though incoherently and impersonally. I still don't understand, but he understood, and was even ready to give in to her, almost instantly, so as not to test her patience. After all, this is what he asked to repeat, and then she hid under the blanket, languishing with shame, calling him a pervert. You got it, the girl reproached him. Okay, agreed, I'm ready to feel like a fool for this, he smiled condescendingly. Give me a mirror, he held out his hand to her, looking at her with scarlet black eyes. Naruto, however, pleased that she had found a way to bargain for the verification of her guess, jumped off his lap and rushed to the bedside table, pulling out a small mirror and returning back to the first space with impatience, handing Sasuke the object. Uchiha sighed heavily and, taking from her hands a mirror with the appearance of a great martyr, immediately looked into his reflection, bringing a light genjutsu on him. He felt Jinchuriki holding her breath, tenaciously watching his every move. The sense of absurdity of the situation intensified, and disappeared exactly at the moment when he completed genjutsu, falling into his own illusion. Don't tell anyone. Uchiha hissed angrily, annoyed that it worked. Her stupid assumption was confirmed. Sharingan had a weak spot. And so ridiculous. It made me feel hurt and disgraced. The Great Dojutsu, a powerful clan, could be broken with just a piece of silvered glass. It would be better if he did not agree to this. You look like shit. Sakura sat down next to Naruto, expressing her concern about her friend's condition, albeit in a very rude form. She barely noticed her roommate, not immediately recognizing the eternally positive Naruto in the pale and gloomy blonde. Is it that noticeable? Naruto broke away from the aimless contemplation of the fountain on the square, slightly raising her head, and shifted her exhausted gaze to her former teammate. Haruno's hands itched to start checking her friend's health right away, but she would have run away from such brazen insistence. Uzumaki was the second in the village to escape from medical examinations, right after Kakashi. She always had an excuse: I'm healthy, Kurama won't lie. What happened? I'm sick of ramen, Naruto tearfully complained, clutching her stomach. Inside, everything twisted into a tight spiral from just the memory of your favorite dish. And Naruto was sure that just a little more and her stomach would go into spasms of nausea again. Sakura frowned for just a second. Is Naruto sick of ramen? And then she was struck by a lightning thought about the interesting situation of her friend. It's so obvious. Sparkles of genuine curiosity danced in his eyes, and it was catastrophically difficult to keep his hands on his knees. The medic assumed, and wanted to check her guesses, because Naruto almost never poisoned herself with spoiled food, and never had anything more serious than a cold. And after Uzumaki had established all the bridges with her Biju, she was the healthiest of all in the village. What kind of intestinal virus can we be talking about here? Are you feeling unwell by any chance? Maybe your lower abdomen has been hurting for several days. I want to eat something that you don't usually eat? The questions fell with the speed of a flying coon. Does it throw you into the heat, then into the cold? Sakura chattered, moving closer to Naruto, almost pressing her shoulder into her shoulder. I feel bad, Uzumaki simply said, sighing in anguish, barely catching the essence of the questions asked by Sakura. They formed a solid set of letters. The nausea did not let go. And Kurama took offense at me, does not heal, offended, again with tears. Suppressing the lump that rolled up to her throat, Naruto curled up, trying to ease the torment. She hasn't felt this bad in a long time. And half of your questions are yes. I've been feeling like a squeezed lemon lately, and the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed did not ask herself what was the matter. She threw everything off on the fact that she was constantly being chased on small missions. Life with Uchiha turned out to be full of everyday trifles, and Sasuke, on those rare days that he is at home outside of assignments, does not climb off her. And Kurama also holds a grudge against her for the fact that she now lives with Sasuke, ignoring all her minor health problems. As a result, against the background of all this taken together, she felt universal fatigue. Sakura clearly found this case of Naruto's indisposition more and more interesting, and her position about the interesting situation was getting stronger, acquiring reinforced, concrete arguments. Naruto would have been confused by her behavior if she hadn't been puzzled by her own lousy state of health and attempts to cope with nausea. The pink-haired one was almost jumping up and down from impatience. Maybe you also have a delay? Sakura tried to speak evenly and quietly, but still her voice trembled treacherously with impatience. Naruto thought about it, frowning even more. Usually, she did not follow the calendar. Kurama warned about the beginning of the red days of the calendar, and often he could somehow influence the process by slowing down or speeding up some hormones or something like that. He couldn't really explain it to her himself. I just helped and that's it, but again, he is silent, and he does not seem to have a nose, for a couple of months now. I don't know. Naruto shrugged her shoulders, but suddenly feeling an increased nervous tension, she straightened unnaturally. Okay, stop. She hasn't had them for a couple of months. A chill ran down my spine, and my heart slammed into my heels. It's what kind of inattentive you need to be not to notice this. Uzumaki wanted to slap herself on the forehead with all the dope, catching herself on her own idiocy. Sakura, of course, noticed a sharp change in her friend's behavior and smiled conspiratorially. That's just the inner Sakura, in which the medic was vigilant around the clock, rationally insisted that it could be a malfunction in the body, nervous tension and so on. Naruto's pregnancy was still worth proving, based on tests, not his own observation. Don't tell me I'm, the word stuck on the tongue. It was even scary to say it. Uzumaki nervously squeezed the fabric of her t-shirt with her fingers, looking at Haruno in fright. Sakura, on the other hand, was smiling, and it became clear from her green sparkling eyes that the medic had already made her verdict, but was in no hurry to voice it. Holy tomatoes. All the color drained from his face, a chill ran through his skin, and Naruto felt a nervous chill. So many thoughts fell on her in one fell swoop that she simply drowned in this chaos, feeling only fear. Yes, don't worry about it, it's not fatal, but Naruto clearly thought otherwise, judging by the expression on her face. Clouds of tension were gathering over her friend and Haruno hurried to calm her down. Clearing her throat, Sakura tried to turn on the medic, removing the mode of a meticulous, overly joyful friend. Let me check, here and now, so that you understand for sure, but sobriety of reason was not going to return so soon. For some reason, she was wildly flattered that she was the first to learn about such exciting news, and the abnormal happiness for Naruto was still rushing out, although Uzumaki herself was more than scared. She was in a complete panic. No, Naruto recoiled from her as from a leper. Nausea began to rise in my throat again. And, most likely, not from ramen, but from awareness of their own situation. To hear the confirmation of this terrible guess here and now was akin to a death sentence. Listen, maybe I jumped to conclusions. The good mood was blown away by the wind. Sakura seemed to have infected herself with her friend's fear. It can be stress, illness, a malfunction in the body. Maybe you really got poisoned. Haruno was counting off her fingers, listing the reasons for Naruto's indisposition. Just let's put all the dots, that's when you'll be panicking. Shifting his gaze back towards Uzumaki, she was not found on the spot. She was gone. Naruto ran away, succumbing to panic, which, by the way, Sakura brought. Damn it! The student of Tsunade cursed, feeling guilty that Naruto had fled in horror without listening to her. But it's true, her conclusions could have been hasty, but Naruto has already believed in it and will obviously do stupid things. Sasuke did not expect to find Naruto at home on his return from the mission, who was nervously pacing the room. Nervous, disheveled, she couldn't sit still for some reason. And she didn't even pay attention to his return. It was more than strange. She herself was paler than chalk, despite her bronze tan. Perhaps he would have said that she was paler than he was right now. And eyes full of fear and some kind of confusion, her nervousness spread through the room with barely palpable pressure, penetrating under his skin as well. What happened? Sasuke blocked her way, forcing her to stop and not flicker a faded and very annoying dot in front of his gaze. And he was clearly going to get clear answers from her why she was in such a state. Naruto looked up at him with a tortured look. She had been collecting her thoughts for more than a day. Every minute she tried to go to the pharmacy for a test, but her inveterate courage left her altogether. Courage did not appear at the moment when Sakura came. She did not dare to open the door to her excited friend, knowing that she had come not only to support. But in the end, she only scared her more, telling her through the door that it was possible that she was already in her second month, maybe the beginning of the third, and she was sick of toxicosis, and asked not to worry too much, because it's dangerous. Signs of pregnancy on the face. But it's worth checking, but Naruto had enough of this to believe in his diagnosis. After all, as Haruno said, all the signs are on the face. Despair flooded her head. And Kurama continued to remain silent, not commenting on her condition in any way. HTOSLUH and LOS, Uchiha repeated with emphasis, seeing that Naruto was looking through him, hovering in his thoughts, and not quite rosy. He even shook her to be sure, so that she would come to her senses, emerging from that gloomy swamp of her own thoughts, which had dragged her like a quagmire. Naruto barely focused her gaze on him. But she was in no hurry to answer either. There was pure panic in her eyes. The tongue seemed rooted to the roof of my mouth. It was difficult to speak. My heart was pounding like a mad bird in my chest from the excitement that jumped at times. For some reason, she didn't think about how Sasuke would react, and thoughts about his possible reaction to the news just popped into her head. After all, he wanted to revive the clan. Get it, sign it. What's wrong with you? With every second that he looked at Naruto's sickly face, he began to worry more and more. The intonation became softer, the look of the black eyes more concerned. But intuition, tearing his throat, screamed that judging by the appearance of Uzumaki, she would not say anything good to him, but even vice versa. It will be something bad, completely unbalancing. And it's worth preparing for the worst. Bibiramena, Naruto barely uttered this word, feeling like everything inside was covered with an icy crust again. During these damn long days, she had come to only one thought, that she was not ready. Her dreams, ambitions, the good life that had just begun were being cut short. And only now did she realize that Sasuke might not be as thrilled with the news as she was. And then what to do? Despair once again covered her head. Now she was counting very much on the fact that he would take this news steadfastly, hug her, tell her that everything would be fine with them, and they would cope. That he will tell you how to behave further, calm down, and perhaps rejoice. And then she will feel better. She needed his support. Like air. And now she was suffocating without it. Naruto could not cope with this thought alone, and could not accept reality. For the first time in my memory. It was easier to put up with Kaguya and the coming apocalypse than with this, she mentally grinned. She needed a firm shoulder on which she could rely, and be sure that adversity would pass by, because Sasuke would definitely protect her from them. Sasuke is strong, brave, and courageous, and she is now such a weak, defenseless, and scared to death girl, and she was even afraid to imagine that he would turn away from her when he found out. He will run away, not ready for such responsibility. Therefore, I did not think, moving away from this topic with my own fear of the current situation. Trying to protect yourself from unnecessary experiences, entailing painful despair, on a subconscious level. What are you? Sasuke stared at Naruto in disbelief. The gift of speech was systematically disappearing. No. It was a matter of course. And quite logically. And he shouldn't be surprised. After all, I suspected that sooner or later this would happen. And I wanted to revive the clan before. But, Uchiha took a step back, removing his hands from Naruto's shoulders. The astonishment on his face reached its peak. Is he going to be a father so soon? Uchiha was more than shocked. And not ready. Absolutely. Naruto froze in anticipation. He heard everything. She is sure, and decided that it was unnecessary to repeat. Sasuke remained silent. Depressing. Eating the remnants of her composure like acid. A prickly lump rose to my throat and my eyes stung. There was only one hysterical thought in his head: he would be scared. Stronger than her. And will not accept this reality. He'll run away. As always. No, hard and cruel, and in the eyes of fear, the same as hers, for sure. No, we don't need it. He quickly accepted the fact that he didn't need it, but falsely covered it up for this bus. Although, it seems, she doesn't need it either. Not now. Not when he began to slowly sort out his own life, putting his broken psyche in order, getting used to reality without revenge, forgetting the excessive sense of guilt in front of his brother, and to Naruto. And he still perceived her as a friend, however, with whom you can do a little more than just with a friend, while noticing the depth of her feelings, just enjoying them, but maintaining emotional neutrality, because she calmly accepted his silence and detachment and did not climb with stupid questions like, "And you, do you love me?" to whom he felt an abnormal attraction, on the verge of insanity, and knowing that she was his, he got incredible pleasure from it, and against the background of all this, he tried to come to terms with the fact that she was taking up more and more space in his life every time, and not just in the apartment. Uzumaki abruptly took off. Nausea caught her by surprise, forcing her to run to the toilet on the first space, holding her mouth with her hand. And it was her temporary salvation from the destructive reality. She will definitely think about it later, when she will not be turned inside out. There was no time to cry and get upset while the contents of the stomach were asking to come out. As well as analyzing Sasuke's words, and what she could understand from his look, Sasuke looked at the back of the fleeing Naruto, realizing that he was not sure that he wanted to settle in Konoha, create a family, especially with Naruto. He thought about it earlier, reflected on his feelings for her, but did not come to any conclusion, except that he was very comfortable with her, and so far he wants to live only for himself, rehabilitating himself in his own eyes and the eyes of others, and now I wanted only one thing: to leave, again, to digest what had happened. No, even to run away, in a panic from the responsibility that had fallen on him. When Naruto came out of the bathroom, thoroughly rinsing her mouth and washing her face with cold water, Uchiha was gone. But the sudden anger and hatred for Sasuke flared up in her unexpectedly and stronger than her own fear, drowning out any panic. Uchiha was an Uchiha. He ran away, leaving without answers, without really talking to her, leaving her alone, with her increased burden of problems. Did not support, did not listen, did not help in any way. And I think I broke her heart. Maybe this is the end, did her situation, in which, by the way, they are both to blame, reveal the true face of Uchiha? Anger grew exponentially. Uzumaki, gritting her teeth and clenching her fists, went to the closet. Sasuke shook all her fears out of her, just as she now shook the whole closet, furiously collecting her things, replacing all this confusion with an outbreak of unbridled anger. At least thank him for that. You know, there is a false pregnancy. Sakura was upset. Truth. This is exactly what she wanted to avoid, Naruto's impulsiveness, which will break the firewood. And apparently, the firewood had been broken, and now it was burning with a hellish flame in her soul, covering the fragments of broken expectations with ashes. Moreover, she would not have come here without completely coming to terms with the fact of her pregnancy. So, from the category of unpleasant surprises, an interesting situation has turned into an expected and pleasant one. And judging by the disappointed look and sad look on Naruto's face, Sakura was right. Uzumaki was already expecting this baby. You have a hormonal malfunction, it happens, especially with kunoichi. Sakura squeezed her friend's palm encouragingly, smiling timidly. Nausea, it was most likely poisoning, or you ate too much. And then stress, the medic continued to broadcast in a soft voice. Naruto was sitting with an unseeing gaze staring at the wall opposite, digesting what she had heard. She really felt disappointed, and some kind of sucking emptiness in her chest, which sucked in more and more feelings, leaving nothing behind. And there's a hole in my stomach. You will still succeed. Sakura hugged her devastated friend, stroking her on the back. Hirono subtly felt that Naruto was more than upset, it was just that the whole range of feelings she had turned off, from shock and trying to cope with broken expectations, but Sakura was wrong. Naruto, digesting what she heard, burst into tears. In a voice, without restraining yourself in any framework. The last words of the former teammate shattered her composure, and unshed tears for Uchiha poured out on Hirono's white coat. She never told Sakura the reason for her breakdown, rejoicing that Hirono herself attributed a good reason to her tears. She didn't want to say that she had problems in her personal life, and she intended to hide it as long as possible. Moreover, to see genuine understanding in a bottomless ocean of pity with sympathy in green eyes was beyond her strength, as well as then to fend off Sakura, who would have tried to organize a rehabilitation center for victims of Sasuke Uchiha's care, as the very first girl abandoned by him, although they were a couple only in Sakura's dreams. Ino would obviously be the vice president there. The teammate has already been in such a situation with the same Sasuke. Now Naruto has been in the skin of Sakura, only the circumstances are different. It was depressing, angry. But the anger passed. Sobriety of mind came, though a touch of disappointment remained. She didn't think he would do that. It would be better if he provoked her to a scandal than to leave like this. Bastard. Logically, she understood Sasuke. They are young. Too much. And almost all their lives they fought for a place under the sun, just starting to live life to the fullest, as much as possible, being a shinobi, with a surplus behind them in the form of a hard fate. And he was afraid that changes were coming, not having had time to really come to terms with the current state of affairs. She was scared too. Because I had no idea how to get along with children. Especially when you give birth to this child yourself. Being a mother. This is much more than a responsibility for someone's life. But then, in Sakura's office, she experienced disappointment and sadness. On the other hand, he would have become the closest and dearest person for her, and for his sake she would have tried to become the best mom, the one she fantasized about in her childhood as an orphan. Hell, she even wanted to come up with a name already. He knew his father, he had at least a clear understanding of this role, while Naruto had nothing but fantasies based on his own observations. He grew up in a family where he was loved, and his brother loved him more than life. And this love broke not only Itachi, but also Sasuke, and, in addition, almost a whole powerful clan died out. Uchiha was afraid of attachments, afraid of love, and was clearly afraid of the thought of family like fire. One day his family was taken away from him, and it hurt him so much that he has not come to his senses to this day. And now, he was afraid to create his own. The second such shock will be the starting point of his quiet madness, which, by the way, she suppressed, at the cost of her hand, and almost her life, and now he was trying to break his attachment to her. Again. Or maybe to check how strong this connection is, in order to return later and repent of her sins. No one forbade her to dream, perhaps he will accept her as the person he wants to be with all his life. And now he is trying to come to this decision, in proud solitude. And she will give him time, and if he does not cope in a time frame that he does not even suspect, she will definitely be mortally offended, spitting on his smug personality from the Hokage Tower. Naruto didn't suffer from his choice. Almost. Just think, I cried a little, and that's all, and my chest hurts and colitis. This is tolerable. While she has strong arguments for his action that it would tie them hand and foot. Uzumaki understood this perfectly. Farewell to all desires and dreams, long live the sacrifices in the name of family, love and loyalty. She loved her freedom as much as he did. But she also liked to belong to him. Unlike him, she could intuitively assume that the bond between them is so strong that Sasuke himself has no idea what he got himself into by crushing her under him. Perhaps Naruto, as always, is too naive and kind-hearted, and this is a banal habit of bleaching Sasuke's reputation, and it works automatically, whether she wants it or not. And to justify his act was the highest degree of masochism, moral. And an act of the highest degree of disrespect for his pride. But, what to do when the same love unknown to both of them was almost added to their relationship? And she already knew that if he came to her, she would quickly return to the old rut. Forgiving Sasuke, she would be offended a little, but she would forgive. She always forgave him for his bastardism. And arrogance. And other charms. Then these Uchiha are red. It's just an asshole in their blood, there's nothing you can do about it. How many Uchi she has not met, they are all bastards, assholes and bastards, to the core. You can't just throw out genetics, you have to put up with it. And she's a ticking time bomb with a demon inside. So they are worth each other, and are the ones who will be able to neutralize the other, almost without noise. Okay, adjusting the landscape a little. They both won't give up without a fight, even to each other. Hell, they have hundreds of reasons to be together no matter what. They are simply kindred spirits and are just made for each other, with all their shortcomings. He makes up for her dark side, she makes up for his light side, and right now she was coming up with hundreds of reasons to justify the quiet and very bastard departure of the Uchiha, simplifying his life, which, perhaps, he was already beginning to suspect. Uzumaki was disappointed again when Kurama turned his attention to his Jinchuriki, interrupting the flow of her thoughts aimed at justifying the Uchiha's act. Kyubi was enraged that with Sasuke's departure, there were even more thoughts about this red-eyed geek in her head. After spitting poison, he expressed everything he thinks about this situation as a whole. And then a few interesting facts leaked out. She could not imagine that the fox, offended, would arrange a boycott for her. And a few other unpleasant surprises. For example, she will arrange a hormonal failure, which eventually became the beginning of a whole string of events that led her to a deplorable state. Kubi hated Uchiha and could not accept the fact that his Naruto, the only vessel with whom he found a common language, and not only with the cursed red-eyed. According to the assurances of the Nine-Tailed, this whole situation showed the true face of Sasuke, reminding him that in any incomprehensible situation, Uchiha prefers to run or kill. There is no other way. And the fox, to be cunning, and to play on her feelings, taking advantage of her naivety, she mentally taunted. And she also reproached him with jealousy, but in no case with hatred for those who were lucky enough to be born with a Sharingan. This made Kurama shut his mouth and take offense at Naruto again. That in her humble opinion, Kurama was to blame for all this. And that's exactly what the sly fox was counting on. And why is she surrounded by all sorts of moral freaks who love to test her trust and kindness for strength? The men in her life continued to disappoint her. Now she was sulking at the fox, too. And a little less on Sasuke, who was still a complete bastard. The realization that Uchiha had made a mistake came suddenly. When I felt an all-consuming emptiness not only with my skin, but also with my mind, that it crept up too late to avoid the maximum consequences. And he made a mistake not in the sense that he did not think about the consequences of their relationship, but that he ran away from Naruto, leaving her alone with problems. And from above, the feeling of guilt also stunned, crushing consciousness with its weight. He left her alone at the most difficult and crucial moment of her life. Naruto is there alone with problems, also afraid, worried, not knowing what to do next, waiting for his support, and he, asshole. To the core, she didn't leave him. Never. I didn't turn away under any circumstances. She believed in his prudence. And he, as always, did not meet her expectations. And for some reason, he was more than sure that this time she would not run after him, continuing to believe in his sinlessness just as meekly that he wanted to bang his head against the wall. Impulsiveness is not his style, but the fact that he ran away, it was an impulsive act, dictated by an inexplicably great fear in the face of the opening prospects of another life together. How many times is he running away from her? He also had no idea how to make amends. The persistent feeling that Naruto, if he returned, would ignore his existence because of a deadly grudge, is firmly rooted in the brain. And then it became scary again. She would turn away from him. For a long time, if not forever. Any patience comes to an end, even angelic. And it seems that this time he completely went too far. This feeling made him jump off the spot, and when he returned home, the apartment was empty. There was a mess in it, which testified to Naruto's collections. Most of the drawers were turned out, and the contents of the cabinet were turned out. And the ringing silence killed morally. She's gone, and guilt and shame were eating away at his composure with a vengeance. He fucked up to the fullest, and now it's only for him to crack it. Naruto ran away. She just went on a mission. Uchiha was furious at this thought. First of all, on yourself. When he was finally ready to find her and try to make amends, he didn't find her at home. She wasn't anywhere at all. And the feeling of guilt grew stronger and stronger every day, and almost crushed his sense of pride and dignity. Uchiha was ready to rush to look for her outside the village, and no matter how ironic it might sound, to bring her home. These urges were annoying, and only the pathetic remnants of sanity prevented him from doing so. Because he simply had no idea how to apologize to her. It also made me feel like an uncouth blockhead how many things and immediately piled on him. It was driving him crazy. Especially the understanding of the blonde's character, which made him worry. Uzumaki being outside the village had a damn strong influence on him. He was pining, sad, bored, and worried like hell. And the latter was caused by the fact that, on top of everything else, he came up with an amazing conclusion: girls in Naruto's position are forbidden to be nervous. The truism cut painfully to the quick, forcing her to experience gnawing and not sparing feelings of anxiety, because Uzumaki took everything too much to heart, and his bestial act definitely hit her hard. He felt in his gut that she was suffering from his bastardism. And don't let Kami-sama, her depressed state will somehow harm their child. Uchiha will not forgive herself, and her too. Because she's a fool too, heck. For once, he is concerned that another person is suffering because of his selfishness. It makes you want to climb the wall. It turns out that it's shitty, worry, and worry again because of hundreds of reasons related to each other by one reason, Naruto Uzumaki. And feel like a fool. Unexpectedly, all this is caused by just one person, and the question is, why the hell did Naruto treat herself so carelessly? Okay, to yourself, but to their child? Because of this, he was already angry at Uzumaki, and again at himself. Uchiha sighed in resignation. I wanted to put my head against the wall from a sense of my own idiocy and paradoxical helplessness. If it wasn't for his habit of running away in any incomprehensible situation, Naruto wouldn't have run away on the first mission she got pregnant. And knowing her, as if she were peeled off, Cat scratched at her soul, grinding his stone soul into a crumb. Now he not only accepted the position of Uzumaki, but also perceived it with a barely noticeable smile on his face when he thought about it. He was already waiting for those damn months of pregnancy to pass and he would hold their baby in his arms. The fate of becoming a father scared him less and less. And she also smoothed out his rough and harsh character traits, making him softer internally. I wonder if she will be happy that he has not only accepted her position, but is also happy about it. And then he realized how to apologize, with minimal consequences for his pride, and with the maximum coefficient for her. At one point, he took advantage of Naruto's absence to find them a new home. He searched for a short time, but carefully, relying on the fact that one Uzumaki, one Uchiha and one Uzumaki Uchiha would live in it, which was the most unpredictable variable in their equation. And I found the most suitable option. He believed that by bringing her to a new home, where there would be a place for a nursery, she would forgive him and understand his feelings and desires. He doubted, of course, that Uzumaki would immediately understand what he wanted to say, but he was sure that in the end, she would accept his desire to become a full-fledged family with a wide smile on her face. And it seems that he has not been so serious for a long time when signing papers on the purchase of suitable housing for his future family. I'm sorry, but what are you asking me to do? Sakura stared at the gloomy Uchiha with all her eyes, experiencing something more than just surprise. It seemed that he had imposed some sophisticated genjutsu on her and was trying to make a joke. And just in case, she tried to brush off this obsession. And no, this is a deeply shocking reality. Help me choose the furniture for the nursery, Uchiha repeated coldly, internally irritated. It cost him a lot of effort to say this request anyway. He was paying for it with his already beaten sense of self-esteem, and Sakura was building one of two things here, either deaf or stupid. As it turned out, the arrangement of the nursery caused a lot of questions, especially the choice of a crib. He had no idea that buying the necessary things for a child was such a hassle. Especially those funds that are needed for the care of babies. Choose between a powder or a special protective cream under the diaper. For him, this is more difficult than the most dangerous deadly mission. My head was swollen from all this, but Uchiha was too fanatical about his idea, intending to fulfill it qualitatively. Therefore, he decided to ask Sakura for help, as not the last person for him, and she had to understand all these things. Sakura slowly digested what she had heard. The shock was receding. Uchiha Sasuke asked her for help in choosing baby supplies. Kami-sama, what a game. Sasuke Uchiha asked. She even felt sick, the world was starting to go crazy. Furniture for the nursery, Sakura muttered to herself, really not believing that Sasuke was asking her for help. Until the whole salt of the situation reached her. Naruto wasn't pregnant. So why is he looking for furniture for a child? Now Haruno's role has come to look at Uchiha as an idiot. Am I being unclear? Uchiha was boiling. Tightly pursing his lips and breathing deeply, he tried to calm down. He felt stupid without it, and Sakura also decided to mock him, looking at him as if he was crazy. No, it's clear, it's just, what kind of child are you looking for furniture for? Haruno was genuinely perplexed, drilling Sasuke with a gaze. So, stop, the gears in her head started working with terrifying force, triggering the thought process. And she categorically did not like the conclusion that suggested itself. Hirono had no difficulty closing the distance between them and grabbing Sasuke by the breasts, shaking him and withering into his eyes. Who did you make a baby for, huh? She growled angrily, suspecting Uchiha of treason. Naruto, does he have more than one? If that's the case, then first he'll say hello to her fists. Naruto, he said patiently, but through his teeth. The situation was becoming much more absurd. Sasuke was beginning to suspect that Sakura had overworked in the hospital. He doubted that she didn't know about it. He believed that Naruto would first go to Sakura for a medical examination and consultation. But for some reason the situation was becoming more and more ridiculous. Hirono narrowed her eyes suspiciously, expressing all her disbelief. Until the thought popped into her head that Naruto might not have told him that the interesting position was false. So she didn't tell you anything, she muttered to herself, unclenching the fabric of his haori clenched in her fists. Didn't say what? He caught on to her inarticulate babble. Inside, everything froze abruptly, frozen with vague fear. Hirono was making him feel not only an idiot, but also an asshole by the second. The feeling of anxiety with tripled force smeared on the heart, forcing me to experience almost panic. Really, his gaze faded, and his face became even more gloomy. She is not pregnant, it was a false pregnancy, which was caused by a hormonal malfunction in her body, she immediately reported, laying out everything in spirit. Sakura, without a second thought, bombarded Sasuke with terms, and as a result, this happens, believing that Naruto did not have time to tell him before leaving for the mission, and he was already out, imagining everyone that the blood had drained from his face. I thought she told you, Hirono drawled uncertainly, seeing that with every word she said, he became even more sullen, already wasting his evil ki, which froze on his skin. Also, his hand closed suspiciously on the handle of the katana. Just don't tell me that you have already almost prepared the nursery, having bought half of Konoha. Sakura couldn't resist nervously stepping back. He glared at her not at all kindly. How could I know if I left her then, and she ran away on a mission out of anger. Uchiha exploded. The cup of his patience burst, there was not enough room for a new unpleasant news. He felt like not only a complete asshole, but a fool in the square. He would rather keep silent about his disappointment. It dragged to the bottom of his new, not yet strong, but warming his soul, dreams to the very bottom. Sasuke abruptly turned around and walked away. To the Hokage, to find out where in the world this crazy blonde was blown away. Wait, you. Hirono ran after him. Did you leave her? Sakura couldn't believe it. Although, it was she who had too good an opinion of Sasuke, and Naruto idealized him at all. Well, yes, nothing unusual. Uchiha Sasuke runs away in any incomprehensible situation. Asshole, remembering how much it hurt her when he left, shattering all her dreams, she got angry, and how her friend sobbed excitedly on her shoulder, desperately clinging to her white coat, everything immediately fell into place. Then Uzumaki mourned not her broken expectations, but the departure of the Uchiha, just kept silent, preferring to sort out her personal problems herself, experiencing everything relatively quietly. Uchiha remained silent, gripping his katana harder and accelerated, going on a run across the roofs, escaping from Hirono and her condemning gaze burning holes in his back. Sakura realized without his answer that, yes, he had abandoned her, and now, most likely, he was trying to find a way to rehabilitate himself in Naruto's eyes, showing that he was ready to accept a child by arranging a nursery. Clever, but only by Uchiha, your mother, stop. Sakura was literally seething with anger, trying to catch up with Sasuke. She was offended for Naruto, and, honestly, she's going to give this idiot a couple of preventive ones so that he thinks first and then does it. But first, I would like to catch up with this elusive bastard. But it was too late. Uchiha disappeared from her field of vision. And Haruno suddenly felt stupid and guilty. It seems that if it were not for her long tongue, then everything would be the same for this couple as before. Naruto broke firewood, and Sasuke also set them on fire, and Sakura only added fuel to the fire. Uchiha, your mother, what are you doing? Rshshsh. Naruto was biting, kicking, but stubbornly did not give up under the onslaught. It seems that Sasuke lost his mind. Of course, it was unexpected that Sasuke appeared in her way. She wasn't expecting him, and she didn't even have a tiny hope that he would take it, find her and try to apologize. This was the opposite of Uchiha's nature. But, fortunately, or unfortunately, it happened. And this event came like a bolt from the blue, causing her to grow to the ground from shock and lose all control over her mind, body and the situation as a whole. He really caught her by surprise, jumping out in front of her like the devil out of a snuff box, delivering a powerful and discouraging blow, which gave him an advantage, and she didn't understand how she was pressed into a tree, and it didn't look like an apology at all. I'm eliminating a misunderstanding, he growled, pressing the blonde with his whole body into the rough bark, trying to deprive her of the opportunity not only to roll, but also to breathe normally. What the hell kind of misunderstanding? Her eyes were burning with righteous anger. The crusted resentment was bleeding again. Sasuke, by his very appearance, made her experience the same shock and resentment as when he ran away, leaving her alone with a problem that knocked the ground out from under her feet. I would like your Sharingans, I would burn you, Dadabayo. She did not give up, although her ribs were cracking, and her back was sore, and her own chakra was treacherously failing. Your pregnancy, and feeling how Naruto froze on this word, Uchiha brazenly took advantage of the hitch by easing the pressure and unbuttoning her jacket. What do you mean? She was staring at him with ridiculously bulging eyes, dumbfounded, trying to figure out what was going on right now. Her mouth opened in surprise. And in the depths of her pupils, faint glimmers of fear danced. I know that you are not pregnant, it was a mistake, and I want to fix it immediately. Uchiha thought for a long time what he would say to her at the meeting. Initially, he wanted to strangle her on the spot, because she made him feel like both an asshole and an idiot. It was a huge blow to his selfishness, pride and self-esteem. But then it came to an understanding that she was important and needed by him, and he really wanted children from her, so strangling her or, in principle, somehow harming her was not an option. And he won't forgive himself later. Fix it? She didn't get what was going on in her head at all. She was genuinely perplexed by his words, forgetting to get angry and fight back. Her thought process hovered. Uchiha took advantage of this, impatiently pulling off her pants. It was then that Uzumaki froze, screamed, freed her hand and slapped the Uchiha with a heavy slap in the face while he was distracted by pulling off his own pants. The red imprint of her palm was left on the pale skin. You're an idiot, Uzumaki stated, smiling grimly at the thought that she had charged Sasuke in the face, but then getting upset, she should have punched him in the face. So that the jaw crunched with gusto. And a bruise on the cheekbone, purple-black, and lips in blood. And thoughts of all sorts of obscenities completely flew out of my head. Look how arrogant he is. Right off the bat, without apologizing, he lets go of his hands, and pulls off her pants. Yes, he's fucked up. Perhaps, but we'll talk about this later, and now we will eliminate the misunderstanding, and Uchiha, leaning towards Naruto, blocked the flow of her abuse with his mouth, pulling her into a kiss, lifting her t-shirt. What a bastard you are, Naruto growled hoarsely, pulling away from Sasuke for a moment, melting under his pressure. The desire that flared up inside her overshadowed her inner protests and resentments, but she stubbornly did not give up, continuing to pour out her discontent on him. An inveterate egoist, she continued to mutter resentfully, while Uchiha kissed her neck hot and wet. "If you run away again, I'll break your legs." Dobe, Uchiha said without malice, picking up Naruto under the buttocks. Uzumaki immediately wrapped her legs around his torso. "Shut up, let's just do it," and with one rough thrust he entered her. Naruto choked on another expletive, but bit her tongue, dissolving together with Uchiha under the pressure of his ardent desire. Naruto was lying on her back, looking thoughtfully at the blue sky, while Sasuke gently ran his fingers over her naked body. Uzumaki didn't know whether to be happy or cry. To rejoice at the fact that Uchiha found her and came to her, which is already worth a lot, to cry from the fact that she so easily surrendered to his will, scoring on her own pride. "Is that why you're here?" Naruto rolled over on her side, looking into his eyes. "You're slow-witted." Sasuke assumed that she wouldn't understand him right away. "And you're a coward," Naruto snorted, frowning resentfully. "I told you, I want to eliminate the misunderstanding that has arisen," Sasuke explained, pulling the girl to him, hugging her tightly. "What kind of misunderstanding is this?" Naruto buried her face in the crook of his neck, breathing heavily. "You know, I've already found a new house for us, and almost equipped the nursery, and found out that you're not pregnant, so I came to eliminate this nuance." Sasuke gently stroked her head, regretting that she hid her face from him. He would like to see her reaction. Naruto froze for a split second, and then abruptly pulled away from him with a look full of incomprehension. Uchiha was as serious as ever, and there was no hint of a joke on his face. "Kurama, did you hear?" Uzumaki mumbled, and then attacked Sasuke. "You are forgiven," she concluded, stretching her lips in a smile, experiencing a universal fit of happiness. Kurama, realizing what the red-eyed bastard meant, wanted to hang himself on his tails. It seems that his stupid vessel and this non-avenger will be together for a very, very long time, if not always. Sasuke suddenly realizes a simple truth when he looks at Naruto sleeping next to him. The blonde is lying next to him, pressing into him. Although he is a little uncomfortable, and the heat of her body breaks into sweat, but he does not dare to move. She sniffs too sweetly and smiles tenderly in her sleep. For the sake of this, it was worth pursuing her and fighting for their relationship. And Uchiha is more than sure that Naruto is beautiful. This thought makes the corners of the lips twitch in a hint of a warm smile. Kami-sama. Yes, this woman combines the incongruous. And with the same paradoxical ease as it turns the impossible into the possible. And he is grateful to her for her stubbornness, otherwise there would be no trace of him left. He would have drowned in the depths of his hatred and revenge, having fallen into this damned vicious circle. And so, he has her. His Sunday Naruto seems to have been created for him. And it was meant only for him. Only she can keep him in line. Only she is equal to him in strength, so that this is possible. And only in it there is as much warmth and kindness as is needed for one Uchiha lost in the darkness, and even from above it will remain. The truth is simple, he will not give up on it. No way. And he is perfectly aware that he will easily fulfill his plans, because Uchiha are also very stubborn and purposeful. The only thing that only she can influence his decision, and then not immediately. A lot of time has passed since their first meeting, but every day he becomes more attached to her. There really is an unbreakable bond between them. They've been through a lot. He was the source of her pain. For a long time he was her failure, tried to become her executioner. But she continued to blindly believe in him and forgive. Between them there was not only bad, but also good. And now this good thing was growing exponentially, sprouting into its essence. Only with her could it be good, warm and comfortable. And Sasuke was sensibly aware that even if he had left as planned, the naughty fate would still have pushed them with their foreheads to the last. Until they, stubborn and selfish slow-witted, realized the fact that their existence is impossible without each other. Although, Intuition or heart suggests that death will not separate them. No one and nothing can break such a connection. They are not meant for each other. They are made for each other. They are the balance. He is her darkness, she is his sun. Most likely, this is even more than the proverbial love. It is something more beyond the control of the mind. Therefore, when she wakes up, he, without listening to her exclamations and objections, because she will be dragged away by force, will lead her to the Hokage. And if necessary, he would shut her up. So that if she thinks about disagreeing, she would not be able to express it. Still, it's time to legitimize their relationship and make Naruto Uchiha. Why resist fate? And he can't resist Naruto lately. In the meantime, let her sleep, and he will enjoy her defenselessness and serenity, inhaling the smell of her skin, and gently fingering soft golden curls. Naruto was kicking. She resisted, trying to keep her destructive power in check. But from half a turn I wanted to go into the bijou mode to knock on a dark-haired head. But, as practice says, this can result in a devastating massacre. Love for Sasuke definitely did not prevent him from being treated the same as always. She won't feel sorry for him. Stop it, Sasuke said curtly, gripping the writhing Naruto tighter. So you think it's normal to pull me out of bed and drag me somewhere? Uzumaki was indignant. And no longer the fact that he flashes his hips from under Sasuke's t-shirt and looks more disheveled than Kakashi-sensei, his name is not translated by a scarecrow for nothing. She was angry that she did not have time to open her eye and stretch, kneading her stiff body overnight, but that she was brazenly pulled off the bed. Without any explanation. Surprise, Uchiha said coldly, heading for the Hokage tower. Naruto froze for a moment. From what more, it is unclear. Uchiha and surprise? Is she really awake? The concept of romance is not available to you, is it? Uzumaki humbly froze. Trying to be romantic in the uncouth, rude and straightforward manner of the Uchiha looks tempting. P.F., said Sasuke. Landing on the roof of the residence. So is this a mission? Uzumaki mumbled, disappointed. Special, for the two of us? That's how they spend their time together anyway. And they even live together, in a house that Sasuke bought for their failed family of 3. Something like that, Sasuke said vaguely, unceremoniously breaking into Hataki's office. Have you come? 6 eyes were still perfectly round. A couple of minutes ago, Sasuke's clone stunned him with an interesting request. Uchiha nodded, carefully lowering his burden from his shoulder and putting it on the floor. Uzumaki shivered. The wooden flooring froze my feet, making me shiver. Naruto angrily jabbed her elbow into Sasuke's side. Romance is romance, but they don't want to think about its convenience. Just say yes. Without going into details, asked Uchiha. No, Naruto turned away from him, resentfully crossing her arms over her chest and pursing her lips in displeasure. Hataki realized that the case was difficult. With a resigned sigh, he took control of the situation. Will you marry him, Naruto? Kakashi looked expectantly at his former student, waiting for an answer. On a mission or something? Get out instead of him, Uzumaki looked at the teacher absent-mindedly. There was something she didn't understand about romance. Or in Sasuke. And maybe in life in general. Uchiha very loudly put his palm to his face, hiding how upset he was with his girlfriend's mental abilities. Hataki laughed nervously, which did not change in this life, so it's Naruto. Still the same. Dobe, get married, not on a mission, Uchiha turned to her. Everything inside him froze. Of course, he won't take no for an answer. That's why I wanted to marry her to myself almost on the sly from Naruto. She just needed to say yes. But this is Naruto. She wants everything exactly the opposite. Married? Naruto frowned thoughtfully, depicting a deep thought process. Yes, Sasuke was getting annoyed. Married, Naruto repeated, as if tasting the word. Get married, Uzumaki squinted at Sasuke, surprise gradually appeared on her face. For husband, her gaze became more and more meaningful, and her face became more elongated. Emotions were changing on her face with the speed of her father's flying thunder god. The meaningfulness was replaced by shock again. Shock at disbelief. Disbelief for joy. Which undoubtedly encouraged Sasuke. But all this was suddenly swept away by anger. Married? Married? The voice became high and nasty to the ear. According to Uchiha. Naruto was glaring at him. Surprise, romance, and dropped to a dangerous hiss. You're kidding, right? She growled. Did you see me, Databeo? Uzumaki pointed at her his t-shirt, at her disheveled hair and sleepy and rumpled face. Is that how you get married? Just say yes, Uchiha rolled his eyes in anguish. And does she care about her appearance? He thought she didn't care a bit. Naruto has never focused on this. I won't repeat it twice. Will you be my wife? Uchiha's tone has changed. Like the look. Softer, warmer, and full of hope. And only she could figure it out. Kakashi warned Sasuke that Naruto might be outraged by this. After all the time that he has known them both, each of their actions outraged the other. How they came together at all is a mystery. How they didn't kill each other is generally a mystery shrouded in darkness. Could you agree first, and then come? Hatake asked melancholically. Hokage has more important things to do than registering the marriage of two unbalanced teenagers, despite the fact that these are his favorite students. Naruto looked sternly at Kakashi. Morally pressured, bastards. Both one and the other are hurrying her. Okay, muttered Naruto, running her fingers through her hair, trying to put her hair in relative order. Something suddenly became a little nervous. My fingers are godlessly tangled. Naruto stopped her empty attempts to bring herself back to normal. Uchiha smiled contentedly, intercepting Naruto's hand and squeezing it encouragingly. Anyway, sooner or later their relationship would have reached such a logical denouement. But it warmed my soul that Sasuke did it very unexpectedly, and did it in general. Though in his own, Uchikovsky manner. In general, she is happy. Hatake mentally rejoiced for the students. For their future family happiness. He even smiled, warmly and sincerely. And just a couple of seconds later, the office was filled with a happy squeal of Uzumaki, who jumped from overfilling her joy. Kakashi winced. He had already forgotten how noisy and emotional Naruto was. But everything went quiet just as suddenly. And it was worth looking up, tearing it away from the marriage registration documents. Kakashi hurried to lower it again. Uzumaki was hanging on Sasuke, wrapping her arms around his neck and legs around his torso. The t-shirt is indecently pulled up, but most likely because of the Uchiha's hands. The future newlyweds were kissing. And they kissed as if there was no Hokage around. Ahem, Kakashi coughed in a strangled fist, attracting the attention of young people. I think first you need to put your signatures, and then the groom can kiss the bride, or vice versa, said Hatake. But they didn't care. Well, yes. No shame of conscience. The copyist complained. When you're done, leave your signatures, it's time for me to go, and the sixth in a cloud of Shunshin left the office. He just had to inspect the academy before the start of the school year. Uzumaki was happily eating ramen, enjoying it already. Looking up, she counted the empty plates. There were already 7 of them. But the feeling of hunger did not go away. It was sitting there somewhere in the stomach, delaying and bringing discomfort. And she also ate ramen tomatoes. Tomatoes have become an integral part of her life since the moment they got married. Naruto learned to cook tomato soup and tomato salad for Sasuke's sake. And also stew them with vegetables. And the refrigerator was 40% full of tomatoes. And literally 5 months ago she started experimenting with ramen. And she got hooked on red-sided tomatoes. And since then, she couldn't eat noodles without tomatoes. Perhaps tomatoes somehow contributed to an increase in appetite? One more serving. If you order another portion, you'll burst. Sai sat down next to me, nodding briefly and smiling amiably. Why is that? Uzumaki asked perplexedly, tearing a juicy cherry from a twig. Did you see yourself from the outside? He asked softly, knowing Uzumaki's hot temper. Although she never took offense at comments like Sakura, she got into fights with enviable constancy. Well, yes, Uzumaki said somewhat uncertainly. No, she didn't notice anything unusual about herself. Everything is as usual. Yes, you look like a balloon, said Sai innocently, smiling. A balloon? Uzumaki squinted full of menace at Saya. She was suddenly offended by a friend's remark, reminding her at the same time of the old days when Sai and tact were incompatible concepts. Naruto, though, sometimes knew when to shut up. However, rarely. Sai looked at her again. Picky and attentive, lingering on the stomach. The sticks in Naruto's hands cracked, breaking in half. Never mind, Sai decided to retreat. Naruto suddenly became such a girl. The instinct of self-preservation, which showed its head after the war, screamed that it was better not to raise the topic. And previously read books about women's psychology clearly hinted that it is better not to focus on the shortcomings of a woman, especially when it comes to excess weight. This may offend them. Naruto pouted, burying her face in her bowl. Oh, Naruto, hi, Kankuro looked into Ichiraku. He knew where to find Naruto. To say hello to her. To convey greetings from Gaara. Pivot, she greeted with a full mouth, smiling affably. It turned out very badly. Kankuro meticulously examined his girlfriend, noticing that she had changed outwardly. It seemed to be a matter of a couple of kilograms that she had gained. What are you staring at? As if sensing that Kankuro's thoughts might somehow hurt her personality, Uzumaki growled in the pause between stuffing her mouth with noodles. Yes, you seem to have gained a few kilograms, the puppet master gave out without a twinge of conscience. But when he saw the blue eyes flash angrily, he bit his tongue. But it suits you. Has she become more feminine? The gaze lingered on her breasts, which increased by exactly 1.5 sizes. A couple of kilograms went clearly there. Sai hurried to elbow the guest from Suna in the side, seeing where he was looking. There were rumors that Sasuke seemed to intuitively feel that his girlfriend was being stared at. By the way, no one in Konoha yet knew that Naruto had been Sasuke's wife for a year, and could be next to her, spreading a murderous aura. And in the gap of his cloak glittered a katana, which he nervously clutched. The killer in Sasuke didn't die. Ino said that Sasuke is just possessive to the core. It was also unpleasant for Sai when someone openly stared at his girlfriend, but not to such an extent. He didn't want to test his fate. Naruto followed Kankuro's gaze. And blushed. From everything at once. Kankurararo. She drawled ominously, I'm going to get up and give this joker a slap in the face. Straightening up, she half-turned to the puppet, exuding the intention to kill. Okay, calm down. I really didn't mean to offend, son of Et's back down, seeing that Naruto seriously intends to get into a fight. Am I really getting fat? Uzumaki faded away. Lately she felt more clumsy and clumsy. As if she had not gained a couple of kilograms, but all 10. But in the reflection of the mirror, the figure was the same. Maybe. Naruto didn't look in the mirror that often. She could tie her eternal ponytails without him and knew how her costume looked on her. Kankuro and Sai silently exchanged glances. And then, as if by agreement, they nodded synchronously. Probably, ramen should be eaten less, not quite delicately noticed Sai. Uzumaki rubbed her cheeks with her palms, starting a tactile examination from her face. It seems that the face is not swollen, but, nevertheless, it has become more rounded or something. Then she felt her heavy chest. Kankuro and Sai tactfully looked away. Well, yes. Recently, she had to update her underwear. Here she agrees. But that doesn't make her fat. She put her hands on her stomach. And was horrified. He was really a little puffed up and bulging. Had she eaten her belly off? And the sides? She felt him in a panic. How did she lose sight of the fact that she gained extra weight? And Sasuke, with his eyes? This was followed by a poke in the palm. Naruto froze in horror. WHWH, what is it? She stared at her stomach. The sensations were very strange. And another poke. Naruto removed her hands in a panic, shrieking. Not only was the stomach a little swollen, but there was something else moving inside. Her friends also turned to her voice. Naruto looked paler than chalk in panic confusion at her stomach, as if someone was going to jump out of there. And she would like to think that it would be her Biju. Kurama, if this is your joke, I'll kill you, Jinchuriki said, barely moving her tongue. Reassurance from the thought that it could be the tricks of Kyuubi did not come. The excitement made her tremble even more. Both guys shifted their gaze in the same direction. Kankuro narrowed his eyes. Surprise. The fox mentally scoffed. For this he had to overcome himself. But his vessel's reaction was worth it. This is a girl, and she will soon be 5 months old. Kurama did not want the red-eyed race to continue. And I wasn't going to contribute to this. Even if the line of his Jinchuriki is interrupted. Let his vessel get pregnant from anyone else, but not from this Uchikovsky geek. But, still, he generously deigned to deviate from his own principles. For fun. And I didn't lose. It was already the 19th week. Almost the 5th obstetric month. Naruto did not notice her position for a full 18 weeks of pregnancy. Kurama used all his abilities to make her notice it, ideally at the time of delivery. That would be a laugh. But it was not in his power. He barely had the strength to hide this fact. He blocked toxicosis and hormonal imbalance as best he could, but Naruto still suffered from hunger, irritability and fatigue, and as always did not pay attention to the fact that there was no menstruation. The absent-mindedness and carelessness of his vessel played into his hands. Uchiha could see the flow of another chakra at any moment. Like anyone with a Byakugan, and Naruto to feel the tremors. And my stomach was starting to bulge. Still, the third extra disrupted the circulation of the chakra. And the bigger it got, the more the flow was disrupted. Naruto in reality almost fainted from a flurry of emotions, which tore her apart with triple force. But Uchiha arrived in time, offering her his strong shoulder. Their connection was really much bigger and deeper than it seemed. Kurama smiled with satisfaction. But still, it would be much better if it happened during childbirth. Then the demon fox would have laughed heartily at his joke and the fucking faces of everyone around. Sasuke was happy. Exactly until the moment when I heard Naruto's cry of pain. And between the intervals of screams, which were getting shorter and shorter, Naruto swore that she hated Sasuke. She swore that the Uchiha would pull out her hands and, of course, the causal place. And in general, she would never allow him to make love to her again in her life. Uchiha wanted to be with her and hold her hand. He was mentally and psychologically ready for any spectacle. Moreover, he wished with all his heart and soul to see their child at the same moment as Naruto and the Iraianans. A year and a half ago he had a different opinion, but everything changes if Naruto is around. But Naruto insisted that he stay away from her. Uzumaki already wanted to kill Sasuke during the fights. She thought that she was ready for the pain that a woman experiences during childbirth, assumed that it was no more painful than the battle with Pain or their final battle with Sasuke. But it turned out to be very painful. It hurts more than all of them put together. Because then the pain was muffled by the chakra and the spontaneous release of adrenaline, and the fox somehow influenced her pain threshold, and now this very chakra did not obey her. And the fox was sitting in front of the hospital at all, trying to suppress his nervousness. Naruto will not forgive him if he accidentally blows up a couple of blocks of Konoha with his tails. For the first time in her life, Naruto felt weak. And Sasuke was hurt by it. And exciting. Because he was literally a couple of hours away from meeting his baby. So he thought about 10 hours ago. Who knew that the first birth is a long process? Then there were cries that she would count the tails of Kurama and not leave any. And Shikaku will have the opportunity to torment a fellow until the end of his days, calling him the weakest. After all, how would a tailed one have strength if, according to Kurama, strength was calculated by the number of tails? It was a bad idea. Kurama's huge eye was barely visible through the hospital window. From the maternity unit, he heard another eloquent expletive addressed to his red skin. And then a very loud and painful agreement. "Thank you," Sasuke said shortly, not sharing the opinion of his wife and her tailed pet. He was glad. It was really a surprise. Pleasant this time. Kurama fooled him too. But Uchiha was glad. Very, very glad. The smile on his face did not slip for a long time. However, only Naruto saw her, that day, when she somehow told him what was the matter, and that she was so contused in Ichiraku. Sasuke circled her in his arms, not restraining the impulse. And then he hugged her for half a day, pressing his ear into her stomach, then gently stroking her with his hand, smiling every time he felt the tremors. Naruto was scared of his reverse reaction. Last time he ran away, and this time, and so for a couple of days I thought that it was just genjutsu and nothing more. And don't ask for more, Kurama growled. He wouldn't let her get pregnant a second time. And he will be vigilant. He will no longer participate in the expansion of the Red-Eyed clan. And it's not him who's worried about the fact that she's in pain. He just enjoys the fresh air, yes. Air. Rejoices. That the tails are shaking nervously. Still, her pregnancy had exhausted him. At first, he worked almost all 5 months without a break for a result that pleased him for exactly an hour, and then this parasite dragged huge volumes of chakra out of him. He was as tired as Naruto herself. Uchiha himself could not say yet whether he was ready to relive Naruto's pregnancy. It was, in principle, normal. My wife just ate ramen and tomatoes. And she became a solid emotional and impressionable bundle of nerves. But Sasuke didn't notice much difference, she was like that without it. But now he has become too soft. Which undermined his authority as a cold-blooded avenger. It was hard for him to come to terms with his own metamorphoses. Don't let Kami, someone will see how he gently and sweetly lisping with her belly, rejoicing in more tangible kicks. he became more gentle. And paradoxically, he was obsessed with their future child. Naruto was sometimes jokingly jealous of his unborn daughter. But turning away, she let out a tear of emotion. She liked the thawed Sasuke. Sasuke inevitably changed, adjusting to the status of his father. Naruto was happy and did not hide it. The fox cursed his brilliant idea. But I was happy. Because the devil Naruto infected him with her happiness, which was given to her by Uchiha. Naruto quieted down. More precisely, she stopped cursing them. Her screams were interrupted by her heavy breathing and sobs. The fox was no longer looking out of his window. Most likely, his huge red eye is watching Naruto like a kite. Uchiha couldn't stand it. Kurama was really looking out the window, and his tail was stuck through the second one, which Naruto was holding on to with a death grip. No matter how proud the fox was, he was worried about Naruto. Sasuke was jealous. Uchiha gritted his teeth angrily, stood next to his wife, withstood her murderous gaze, took her by the hand. Naruto instantly squeezed his palm until it crunched. But Sasuke didn't care. Whether she breaks his arm or not. She has the strength. Tsunade just rolled her eyes. But she did not expel Kurama or Sasuke. Naruto found it easier to be around them. 10 minutes later, with Naruto's stifled screams and attempts, he heard crying. And then I saw the newborn, which was immediately taken by Shizun. And his world turned upside down. Probably, he had never experienced so much joy and happiness before, which he confessed publicly, as well as gratitude. And when Naruto still broke his arm with her grip, as it turned out, the process did not stop there, he stayed with her, although he was going to go after Shizun. Uzumaki couldn't let Sasuke be the first to hold their baby in his arms. Kurama only snorted with displeasure when Tsunade's assistant handed a weak, but too pleased Naruto an already clean, pink-cheeked girl wrapped in a film. He gritted his teeth, seeing the happy face of the Sharingan asshole. The hope that Sasuke would still be scared and run away did not die in him until the last moment. But Uchiha turned out to be a strong and lovesick nut. And also a loving father. And instantly recognized that wrinkled and pink larva, completely unlike, in Kyuubi's opinion, a person, as his child. And 3 years later, he did not recognize their child. So is marriage in general. Kurama in this family was clearly considered a plush toy and opinion was not taken into account. How much has he lost? He lost count. He was angry, snorted, snuffled with displeasure, but allowed Naruto to regularly pull him out of the cage so that Madoka would get used to the fox demon. Or rather the opposite. And when Madoka, by the way, she looked like an Uchiha, Kurama preferred to ignore the fact that she had her mother's eyes, who did not like the fox, spoke. Biju realized that the child looked like a mother. Sometimes you can't shut up. And no matter how he pushed her away from him, she stubbornly walked towards him, pouring nonsense about friendship into his huge ears, while trying to hug and bask in soft wool. Biju's heart trembled when the dark-haired version of his vessel called him a cute little fox and promised to love and stroke his warm and soft fur until the end of his days, and if you can marry Biju, then Madoka will definitely take Kurama as a husband when he grows up. Then Kurama decided that he didn't mind, if they have another child. If he loves his majesty just as much and firmly. And when his beloved dark-haired baby turned 4, a charming chubby Izamu was born. Who immediately after birth pulled Kurama by the tail. What kind of delirium was he in there that he allowed Naruto to get pregnant again? Definitely for sure, he won't let them have any more children, so you can stay bald. And 2 of them are enough for the notorious, lived happily ever after. With Uzumaki, it is impossible to live without happiness at all, they undoubtedly infuriated each other. From the first breath. At first sight. A moment before the acquaintance. It's as if they were born with it. Sasuke was annoyed by her carelessness and attempts to prove something to everyone and everything. And, of course, her stupid idiotic smiles. That's why he always tried to turn away. Naruto was infuriated by his arrogance. Even as a child, he was already an absolute bastard. But most of all she was annoyed by his back, which she always contemplated. No matter how she ran after him, tried to prove to him that she was better than him in some way, he always stood with his back, not even trying to look. She despised him. And envied. He was smarter, stronger, more agile, more beautiful. Genius. And he was a boy. And she's a girl. Naruto Uzumaki's academic performance suffered on all fronts. Except physical education. That's just that she wasn't taken to the football team, where the same Uchiha was. They didn't take her to the martial arts circle, too skinny and too girl. Crowds of girls ran after him, all the boys avoided her. But she was a girl capable of clashing in a fight with the most popular and strong boy. But most often she came out the loser. But Sasuke didn't leave without bruises either. And she went out of her way to be on the same level with him. And, still, it may be possible to make friends, since they will become equal. He pushed people away from him, but she, on the contrary, attracted them. Everyone except him. Even Haruno Sakura, the #1 Uchiha fan, suddenly became friends with Naruto. In impotent anger, she called him topic. He was smiling haughtily, spitting out dobe with all his disdain. But in high school, their paths diverged. The inside was suddenly empty. Naruto was sad, the main incentive to become better was gone. Sasuke was delighted. He didn't need this stupid rivalry, which this awkward girl stubbornly imposed. He already knew that he was the best. But now there was no one around at whose expense it would be possible to look better and cooler. Sasuke had almost forgotten about Naruto. He started a different life. Other interests. Naruto almost never forgot Sasuke. After all, somewhere out there is an arrogant Uchiha who is better than her in everything. This thought made her move forward. She graduated from high school with honors. She received a scholarship at the university. And got a job at a prestigious firm. Fools are lucky. Sasuke can't contain his caustic comment when he meets her in the corridor near the personnel department. She's easy to recognize. The same bright hair, the same stripes on the cheeks. And the same wide, outrageously annoying smile. But there can be no question of teenage absurdity. And Uchiha has another item in the list of reasons for the hatred of Naruto Uzumaki, from which Uzumaki herself shook the dust with her appearance. Still the same arrogant asshole, the blonde hisses. Naruto starts with half a turn. If it weren't for an uncomfortable business suit, heels and some kind of decency, Naruto would have tried to get into a fight like in the good old days. But passing by the Uchiha, she gives him a fist under the stomach and, proudly raising her head, walks away, listening to him breathing shallowly, clearly bent in half and clutching his stomach. To hell with it. She won't work here. So you can. She didn't expect to meet Sasuke Uchiha in this company. The next day, Naruto does not come to sign an employment contract, and accepts an offer from a rival firm headed by Itachi Uchiha. They broke deals with each other with enviable constancy. Either Naruto will steal a lucrative contract from under Uchiha's nose, then Sasuke is with her. Uchiha was angry. For the fact that blonde was on a par with him. The blonde idiot. He always thought she was stupid and did not miss the opportunity to accuse her of getting signatures in financial contracts solely for her beautiful eyes. And her eyes were really beautiful. So are the legs. As soon as they met within the framework of work, sparks flew between them in all directions, as if they converged not in verbal battles, but on swords. Naruto fiercely and passionately defended her position, sometimes surprising with the twists of her logic. Sasuke was her complete opposite, cold and dispassionate. However, more and more often he caught himself thinking that as soon as she began to defend her opinion, something inside him seemed to click, triggering strange mechanisms. And he had already started it on purpose, knowing that he would clash with a worthy opponent. His blood was boiling, despite his impenetrable appearance. Their words cut, stabbed, crossed the boundaries of reason, sometimes bringing pain with them. Especially after they were left alone, which their assistants tried to prevent. Shikamaru always tried to get her out before she clashed in another battle with Sasuke already one-on-one. Like Yugo Sasuke. After all, the transition to personality was ensured. They were particularly happy to pick at what was hidden from others. Both then collected the pieces of their souls in pieces, washed down with alcohol. And only they saw what was in each other's hearts. Behind the facade of a strong and independent woman with a wide smile, there was a lonely and vulnerable nature, full of suffering and pain. Behind the facade of a self-sufficient bachelor was a deeply lonely boy who lacked warmth and attention. They realized this when they were almost 30. Naruto did not immediately realize that she wanted to help Sasuke pull out of this swamp. Because she cooked in it herself. And it was painful and unpleasant. There was much more compassion in her than pride. But Sasuke had much more pride than compassion. And he resisted. With all my might. But he did not immediately understand when, after the transactions, he began to drink with her more often. It was difficult to refuse her insistence, and the fact that she had sacrificed her pride warmed her soul, for the time being, silently listening to her stories that she kept a tame fox at home, which she picked up on the side of the road and went out herself. That her friend from the institute has a pet raccoon at home, and as soon as they cross paths on a walk in the park, the animals roll head over heels on the grass. About what, she talked and talked about herself. Until he started talking about his life. And literally after a year of such gatherings, Sasuke reconciled with his brother, not without the help of Naruto. 6 months later, he and Itachi found a common language and there was no more tension in their communication. A month later, Sasuke worked at Itachi's firm, going to Naruto's company to sign lucrative contracts. Standing on one side of the barricade turned out to be strange and exciting. But in tandem, they worked even better and more productively. Their mutual hatred and dislike came to naught, extinguished altogether. They seemed to have become friends. And this is after more than 20 years of dating. The struggle between them remained only on the basis of wit. But they weren't friends for long either. After all, Sasuke instantly realized that her eyes were too beautiful. And the legs, too. And the smiles are not idiotic. And the lips are so soft and hot. And Naruto succumbed, drowning in his gaze, finally realizing that Sasuke had turned to face her, and she was no longer chasing the image from childhood, trying to become better. And it seems to have happened quite a long time ago. She just didn't notice. And to understand this, he needed to cut into her with his lips. That's the end of it.